is after him. That could be picked off by Colt Cruz at the 28. He's loose. He's going to go all the way. Touchdown, Tigers.
Get it on the jet sweep to the short side, up the sideline. Sam McCaffrey, he is gone. Touchdown, Ottawa.
Wilder's going to catch it right at the 50, looking for some room coming down here.
He's got room.
He's got a lot of room. Watch out. He's gone. He's gone, Coach. Wilder's going to take that 50 yards for a score. Bulldogs on the board. Glad to have you back here for the Black Swamp Football Podcast presented by the Gerken Companies again. Headed to week number 4, joined again by Tory, Strock. Circumstances not going to allow Mr. Schuller Neal to be here this week, but we do have his picks. And thinking about you, AJ, get better, my friend.
Yep, Neal's son plays football at the University of Dayton and had some high hopes this year as far as being a contributor, and was sidelined with an injury a couple weeks ago. So the Schulers are down there tending to AJ, and hopefully his procedure goes well.
Yep, absolutely. Thinking of you guys.
Yep, absolutely.
Also want to pass on our condolences and prayers to the Larry Fruth family in the Wauseon community, born in Napoleon in 1934, lettered 3 years in football at Napoleon, also served in the Army, did Coach Fruth. He coached at Wauseon for 24 years, 1960 to 1983, had a 141, 70, and 11 career record, which remains the most wins still in Wauseon history, Coach Strock. Also in the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame, and the football stadium is now named after Coach Fruth. I don't know if you had any interactions with Coach Fruth through your coaching days or with the Coaches Association, but if you could share them, if you have any, that would be great, Coach.
You know, I really don't. I've met Coach Fruth on a number of occasions. That's about as far as it went. Just an admirer of his. That generation has passed, and it isn't coming back. When you think of the legends like Larry Fruth, who not only did it well, but did it with class and the way he operated on and off the field. You think of the legends of this league. Man, there's been such a great lineage of coaches in the NWAL, and Larry Fruth is a name at the forefront when you talk about NWAL coaching legends. And so God bless Coach Fruth and his family and loved ones. You just hate to say goodbye, to folks like that. And so.
Didn't have many interactions with him either, like yourself, but never heard one bad thing about Coach Fruth. And I know guys that played for him in his time at Wauseon, and they adored him, they loved him, and those throwback guys that are just tremendous for our football communities here in Northwest Ohio.
They are, and you mentioned his history at Napoleon, and boy, you turn the clock back to Napoleon, and you think of some of the football people, that have been produced there. I mean, John Downey, state champion, Hall of Fame coach at Archbold, and
played on Toledo's undefeated.
Yes.
What was their winning streak? It was
30
a
plus,
crazy amount of games that they won in a row.
Or something.
Maybe even in the 40s.
It's
part of that. Yeah.
Chuck Ely.
Yeah.
And Larry Fruth, and of course Charles Buckenmeyer didn't graduate from Napoleon, but coached at Napoleon, and boy, Napoleon's produced some dandies. And the Napoleon Hall of Fame, Lynn, is pretty impressive when you look at.
You go down the list of the inductees. Holy smokes!
Yep.
It's right up there with anybody in Ohio.
Yes, it is. And Larry Fruth, one of the good guys.
Yeah, and still the all-time winningest coach. You probably think of Mark Emmons as the winningest coach at Wauseon, but it was Coach Fruth, 141 wins in his time. And a lot of those before the playoff era that started in 72.
Yeah, a lot of those coaches. I think in modern times, we used to use playoff berths as a kind of a benchmark of success, and in my mind, and this is only my opinion, I don't speak for anyone else, you can throw that out the window now. So-and-so has this many playoff appearances. How many before the expansion is all I'm really concerned with. And, guys like Coach Fruth and,
12 of his years, you had to be in the top two to even get into the playoffs.
Yeah. And you look at like Charles Buckenmeyer.
Region-wise, I'm saying.
Correct, yeah. And
now you have 16.
Yep. And it's just, so that is no longer a benchmark. And schools can view it, how they want. But as a football purist and historian and lover of the game, that doesn't hold water anymore with me because, Charles Buckenmeyer, you look at all his success. And so it's a different time. But
it is. Good to have you back with us. I know you were not here Saturday. It seems like it's been a week since I've seen you. It's only been 4 days, but didn't have you on Saturday's Rise and Rewind.
Lynn, it bothers me because I feel like that teacher that misses school all the time and always needs a sub, and which I don't do, and I feel like I dropped the ball recently. But if
Family
I'm ever
comes first, Coach.
It does,
always say it,
and I appreciate it, and it was worthwhile.
How was the trip to Happy Valley?
It was smooth sailing. We hit the road. I don't know if you remember. The goal was 4:30.
Did you get on the road by 5:15?
We did. It was 4:30, and Cinda was, making last-minute arrangements. I'll leave it at that. And and it was 4:30 on the nose. And I said, keep your cool here. I said, I'm going to run uptown and get a coffee. And when I pull in the driveway, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to load your stuff, and we're out of here. And she was ready. It was about 4:50. And we navigated things well and got parked. How about this one, though? This is funny. I want to share with our listeners. Parking. What a time to be alive, as my dad and I say to each other. Parking. We pull in, we find a cash lot. We didn't have a parking pass or anything. We find a cash lot, which was just like a 20-acre, maybe more, grass field. 20-acre grass field, and with cars for miles. And I pull up to the guy that's accepting the money to park. It's cash only, like a lot of places, or card only, like a lot of places now. And he looks at me with a straight face and says, 80. 80. And and it was almost humorous. I couldn't get upset.
Does Tory Strock even carry that kind of change in his pocket?
No. And I looked at him. I go, did you say 80? And he goes, yes, sir. And I go, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? They got you at that point. So it's like, we used to play, or Taylor would play summer basketball, and you go to these tournaments, and it cost me 80 for a bracelet. It cost Cinda 80 for a bracelet. Grant and Morgan, maybe 50 when they were younger. What are you going to do? Not watch your kid play? They got you, and they know they got you. But with NIL and these coaching salaries and everything else, and I'm looking at that lot. It was like Cedar Point or something. And I'm like, $80 a car. Are you kidding me? So we paid it, and from there on out, though, it was awesome. Just the people were cordial, and Bowling Green gained some respect, Lynn. They gained some respect.
They're going to pull that one out for a little while.
Yeah,
more than a little while.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it wasn't a fluke. Sometimes things like that are just crazy things happen. I didn't think Bowling Green would be able to run the football much at all, but they not only ran the ball effectively, they got some movement at the point of attack. And on paper, here's what's crazy. On paper, I don't know if you could have found a matchup where you'd say, okay, BG has the advantage here. So the job that the BG coaching staff, starting with Scott Loeffler, did, trying to scheme to give themselves a chance, let alone lead the majority of that game, was unbelievable. And it wasn't a fluke. I mean, they executed. But as Scott Loeffler said Saturday morning, I think I read, or Sunday morning, we just ran out of bullets, and you give Penn State credit for that. Not like the lady at the Turnpike rest stop on the way home, BG fans fan says to me, well, too bad we got conservative there in the fourth quarter. And I wanted to say, do you think Penn State had something to do with that? Good Lord.
They may have. Yeah. Any insight or any analysis from last Friday's game, since we didn't get you on a Saturday morning, Coach?
The Delta Panthers, I think, are positioning themselves to be in the conversation of NWAL contenders. I think they've already done that. The Defiance Bulldogs. Wow. Travis Cooper and his squad, they're back against the wall against a rugged St. Mary's team. Got it done. And that one was tremendous. Patrick Henry turns the ball over 5 times Friday night, and it's still a 27-13.
Yes.
27-13 final. And so I maybe that's a good sign for PH that you can turn it over that many times and still be within striking distance. When Columbus Grove's defense is as advertised, they are for real. So those are some things that stood out to me.
Central Catholic 33-game winning streak.
Big one, yeah.
Gone.
Yep. That was
probably a big shock to a lot of folks.
Another one. How about Liberty Benton with that bad taste in their mouth, going to Macomb and rolling in that one. So, just a great football weekend. Northern Illinois, they go to South Bend and knock off
yes, they do.
Notre Dame. So that speaks well of the MAC. And even in the NIL era, that transfer portal, there's a little more parity. You're not going to be able to afford some of the elite guys, but boy, if you kind of know what you're looking for in the portal, you can put something together. And I mean, Bowling Green's done it. They have arguably the best tight end in the country, at least top 5 in Harold Fannin. The fact that they've been able to keep him at Bowling Green's crazy. He was a guy that Penn State struggled to match up with. So it'll be fun. They go to their BG has a bye this week to heal up, even though I think they came out relatively healthy. They go to College Station, Texas, a week from Saturday, and 7:30 p.m. start. The only thing is it's ESPN Plus or SEC Network Plus, so it's got to be streamed. But,
so you're going to give us your passcode for that and all the listeners out there?
I don't know how many I can share it with, but yes, I will have that, and I will have it on.
I love it. We've got some awards to hand out. The Gerken Company's rock solid performance from week 3. Do you have some nominations? And maybe you just went over some, and the Gerken Company's Robbie Myers is here.
I'll tell you what.
I feel honored.
How thankful are we for the Gerken companies, First one on my list would be the Columbus Grove Bulldogs, and not just because of Friday night's performance, which was rock solid, and then with their leader Landon Best going down in that game.
Yep. Landon, we're giving you some well wishes. Hopefully, we can get you back out there this season, my friend.
Yep, for sure.
That was tough to see.
Yeah,
got a lot of injuries around the area this season early on.
Yeah, and I just don't remember. I don't know. It just seems like there's just been an influx of them more than what I remember in the past. And to overcome an injury like that to your offensive leader, I think's rock solid. I mean, that's the essence of this award, right? Being able to overcome adversity and sticking together and things like that. So Columbus Grove, and then not just what they did Friday, but the gauntlet that they've run through. The first
Pandora, Gilboa, Liberty Benton, and now Patrick Henry.
Yeah, and so Columbus Grove, I thought, made a statement for sure. The Defiance Bulldogs start out 0-2. They finally get their starting quarterback back, and for them to beat St. Mary's, where they were an underdog for sure in that game, and to get that done, I tip my cap to Travis Cooper and company. I would say that was rock solid. Those are the two off the top of my head, Lynn, and I'm looking at my list from last week. I mean, those would be the two. Those would be the two that I have. Like I said, we kind of been on a little Columbus Grove tour just because we want to cover the best games, and they happen to be involved in them. Delta, I think Delta's got to be mentioned as a rock-solid performer as I look at last week's games. The consistency that they've shown, I think, makes it evident that they're not just a flash in the pan.
Can I throw Toledo Christian in there? 21-0 over North Point Christian. Perhaps the best team they'll play. I don't know this season. Find out.
Absolutely.
And what they've done against the two Michigan schools they played here the first 2 weeks has been impressive. Lenawee Christian week 1 and then North Point Christian last week.
Toledo Christian's doing, I mentioned to you a couple weeks ago about we need to see improvement in some of the opponents in 8-man football. Toledo Christian's doing everything in their power to play the best competition they can play. And I'm glad you mentioned them because Central Catholic and Liberty Center are two teams I think that fall victim to this because we just expect them to always win. Mm-hmm. And so the bar's set so high, you go, well, yeah, they're supposed to win. They always win. Well, it doesn't mean the performance wasn't rock solid just because they make it look easy. And Toledo Christian's getting to that point in the 8-man game. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. My nomination would be Columbus Grove.
Okay.
And that's kind of the whole body of work here the first 3 weeks is I would add to that. I feel like they could have been a rock solid performer any of the first 2 weeks, and then they got off to a 21-0 lead against Patrick Henry. I don't know that game was ever kind of in question.
No, I don't think it was.
And the way their defense is playing and playing without your quarterback for half of that game when Patrick Henry had the momentum going into that second half.
And then some.
Because Landon Best had just gotten hurt, 2 plays before the half? Yep. That was a pretty impressive 24 minutes in the final 24 minutes by the Bulldogs.
Yep, and I'll look at it this way too, since the Gerken Companies is our sponsor of the rock solid performance. I think about it this way. How many guys off of Columbus Grove's football team would the Gerken Companies love to have? They have a variety of capacities in which you can work. It's not just a road crew out there, paving roads. I mean, there's a million entities.
Well, Grant Eversole could probably throw around boulders or something the way he's stacked.
How about Landon Houston?
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be a career guy at the Gerken Company. So they could build probably another...
Kylan Mays, what could Kylan Mays do?
He would tamp the asphalt down himself, I think, with his fist. And you could put together a crew.
They wouldn't even need a road roller. They just send Kylan Mays out there with
just a tamp
or something.
Yeah. They could form a whole separate road crew.
They could probably get rid of some of their equipment even. Those guys.
They could, and then you
save them some money and
then think of this. Think of Ned Steckschulte as like the foreman of that crew, and then Sparty, Mr. Blankmeyer,
Dylan Blankmeyer.
Yeah, he'd be something on that crew. He'd get their coffee in the morning probably. But
how about Sparty last Friday night?
He's
about
trooper.
30 minutes before kickoff, you send it's probably about 50 minutes probably. You send Sparty to the concession stand, Dylan Blankmeyer.
Let me interrupt you real quick so people can picture the Sparty, Dylan Blankmeyer. Think of the nicest person you know. And if any of our listeners know, like for my money, Scott Army's probably top 5 nicest people in this part of the state. Sparty might be nicer than Scott Army.
Oh, he's definitely nicer than Scott Army. I'll just say it.
All right, good. Thank you. Because I was thinking that.
Yeah, so you send him, how much did you send him? $10 to go down and get 2 waters and whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have the concession stand open. So it had been about, 15 minutes? I get a text from Sparty, and he says, hey, I just want to let you know I'm not walking away with your money. I'm still standing down here with the concession stand, at the concession stand. He was worried that that you were going to think he took off with your cash.
Yeah, that's how conscientious he is.
Who does that anymore?
Well, first off, who does if that's a big game, right?
Yeah.
And he's involved with the Grove football program. If I'm in his capacity and somebody gives me a 10 and says, "Hey, go get me a couple waters," you know what I'm telling them to do? Go get it yourself, pal.
Exactly.
And he just did it, and even initially didn't hand over the change. You know, I'm looking 2 bottles of water. He got himself a Mountain Dew and popcorn. I'm like, it's about right, you know, with inflation and that. And I'll be darned, he remembered. He kind of jerked, and he gave me $3.50 back. So inflation hasn't affected the Grove concession stand. I'll tell you that.
No,
that's a pretty good buy.
Yeah,
and I would have let him keep the change, right?
Yeah.
For a tip.
Right.
He wouldn't have it. So Dylan Blankmeyer, Sparty.
Sparty, big Michigan State fan. That's why he's known as Sparty.
And even on their, even on the Grove roster, they have, junior high coaches, head coach, assistant coaches, superintendent, principal, videographer.
Not Dylan Blankmeyer, Sparty.
Sparty.
He's known as Sparty. If you say Dylan Blankmeyer in Columbus Grove, they don't know who the heck that is. They really don't.
How about small towns and nicknames like Spike Whitman? If you tell someone, "Hey, I ran into Mike Whitman uptown," they'd go,
I wouldn't know
who you
that
talking
is.
about?
Yeah.
Michael Whitman.
Yeah.
I ran into Michael Whitman uptown. What? I
don't even think people know his last name.
I don't think they do. And so that's the beauty of small towns. It's like code words, man. And Sparty and he's young too. Think of how well known he's going to be in Grove when he's, in his 50s and 60s.
Yeah. One of the best dudes that this world's ever created, the good Lord's ever created.
I love him.
Is Sparty.
I love him.
So congratulations, Columbus Grove, this week's the Gerken Company's rock solid performance. Get with Robbie Myers and we'll run down to Columbus Grove. When we heading down there, Robbie? Thursday?
Yes.
Thursday.
Do you two always go together?
We do.
That may be a trip. I'd like to tag along. I think I'm good Thursday. Those kids, man, what they did the last 3 weeks, pretty special. I'd like to be there.
I put a caveat in there. It can't be too late.
Okay.
Because this week at the Porch Coaches is the fish fry, and I'm not missing that.
Okay.
I'll tell you right now, and neither is Robbie.
Okay. Yeah.
4 o'clock. Can you make 4 o'clock?
I think I can. I could be ready by 3:45.
I got to be back by 6.
That'll get you back at 5:30.
Maybe 5:45 before Spike gets into the fish.
Honestly, it's better this way to have a hard deadline, because I think if Robbie and I, it's just better that way to set a hard deadline. I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I do too. Let's hear from the Gerken Companies.
Who says a college degree is the only path to a fulfilling career? At the Gerken Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods with or without a degree. Gerken provides a generous benefits package, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. We're looking for rock-solid performers to help build and reinforce the region's infrastructure. Whether you have construction experience or are just starting your career, apply now at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you to the Gerken Companies, Robbie Myers, Mandy Gerken, the whole crew, Brent. Boy, oh boy, can't thank them enough for their support this season.
Yeah, just it's humbling. We've been so blessed with sponsorships and that, and when the Gerken Companies came aboard, that was just special. In addition to our other sponsors, but they don't do anything halfway.
No, they do not.
They jump in with both feet, and then speaking of good guys, I mean Robbie Myers, what a community guy.
Yep.
Would do anything for anyone in this community, and yeah, we're fortunate. And how cool is it going to be, man? Grove. Excuse me, Grove. Those bracelets and that award are well earned.
Yeah.
And think of their company. I mean, there's been you had Napoleon, Liberty Center,
Columbus Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fit some good ones so far. We got 7 more weeks to hand out more hardware as the season goes on. Also got to hand out the Game 1 Players of the Week. I know Neil Schuller is not here, but he gave us a list of his award winners from Game 1 in the NLL and CHSL. Going to both go to Findlay from last week. Offense, Findlay freshman quarterback Landon Eckleberry, 16 of 21, 163 yards, 1 passing TD, 2 rushing TDs. Neil said poised and in command of offense all night in Findlay's win over Southview last week. On the defensive side, honorable mention to Southview defensive lineman Josh Adamczyk, who played both ways and had a big impact on D for the Cougars in that loss for Findlay. Campbell Lane is going to be the defensive Game 1 Player of the Week. Number called multiple times. Impact player on the night that slowed down Southview's attack. So congratulations to Landon and Campbell. T-shirts coming your way down to Findlay. I have to send Schuller down I-75 one of these days.
Finley had their backs against the wall.
They were another team that had
Yep, backs against the wall against a really solid Southview team, and Findlay got it done with a freshman at the controls. I mean, that's a ninth grader engineering a Division I high school offense.
Yeah.
That's and I think it speaks to how talented this young man is, because to play quarterback at any time at Findlay High School is an honor and hard to do, because there's only one of them, right?
Yeah.
And
having to step in for Ryan Montgomery. Come on.
Jeez.
Dude's going to Georgia.
Yeah. That's something else. Congratulations to those two.
Yeah.
And thank you to Neil Schuller for his continued coverage.
Yeah. Great coverage of the NLL and CHSL. Stay tuned for this week's Game 1 Game of the Week, where Neil Schuller will be on this upcoming Friday. Got to make up some ground here, Strock.
Yep.
I got to get rolling here in our picks.
Yeah.
You're widening your gap. Last week you were 30-4. Neil was 28-5. Braden 28-6, and I was 26-8. How did I lose 8 games last week?
And I only lost 4.
You only lost 4, but I thought you said you were going to go undefeated.
I did.
What happened there?
I got to look. I'm not going to do it now, but I could tell you the 4 I missed. I had Crestview, Wayne Trace. Who won that one?
Crestview.
Okay, I got that. Edgerton got it.
I can tell you here which ones you missed real quick.
I'd be curious, because Salina rolled over Van Wert. Oh, Shawnee Bath, Defiant St. Mary's, Elida Kenton. 3 of my 4 losses came out of the WBL. Am I right or am I right?
Yep, Elida Kenton, St. Mary's, Defiance, Bath, Shawnee. Yes, and Toledo Central Catholic, which we all missed.
We all missed that one.
Everybody was going to miss that one. Come on.
So 3 out of my 4 blemishes.
You better study up on the Western Buckeye League, Strock.
Thought I had a good handle on things. The ones that always, like Salina, Van Wert, Bath, Shawnee, Elida, and Kenton, maybe OG too. Throw those names in a hat and pick one. I think there's so much parity in that league after, it's Wapak, arguably, at the top, and then, dare I say, the Defiance Bulldogs going to have something to say about that?
I don't know that they're out of the discussion just yet.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, we'll find out. They got Van Wert this week to the Bulldogs. Overall, you have a 3-game lead on me, 83-18. I am 80-21. I'm going to make up that this week. I just about guarantee it. Braden 80-25. He's at a 762 win percentage. And Neil Schuller 76-26, .745 win percentage. But Neil he's made up some ground here the last couple weeks after that. I think he was like 18-14 or 19-14 week 1.
Yeah, geez. Yeah.
So he's made some improvement.
He has.
Continue. Is it just a blimp on the radar, or is he starting to get it figured out?
He might be starting to figure it out.
Well, let's see how many NLL games he's not picking this week, because last week he didn't pick 2.
Yeah, I know. So I was looking at his picks, because he sent us his picks, and I already have mine done ahead of time. And so I looked at his when he sent them, and I go, You know what? He's only got one or two different than me. Now, he's going to lose them both.
Yep.
But I think he's starting to get the hang of it, because there were some that I was surprised that he picked the same one I did, because I'm obviously normally right. And so I'm proud of our buddy. I feel pretty good this week. I'll be honest with you, though. The WBL, because of the parity,
you never know what's going to happen in the WBL.
it's the toughest collective group of picks. When you look at Elida OG, flip a coin. Kenton Bath, flip a coin. Shawnee Salina, even though I think there's a slight favorite there, maybe flip a coin.
Yeah.
So that's toughest league to pick.
And a lot of the leagues around the area get rolling this week.
Yep.
We've had the Western Buckeye League, but this week we get quite a few of them. Obviously, the NLL, till they get into the Buckeye and Cardinal Division games, have some crossover games, but the rest of the area pretty much is into the beginning part of the league slate, which is crazy already. It's already week number 4.
Yeah,
week away from being halfway done, Coach.
Yep, absolutely.
Goes by quick. So kids, coaches, communities, enjoy every second of it. It goes by in a hurry. We're going to start in the NBC. Eastwood at Lake. Both these teams are off to a very nice start. Kevin Lewis leading the Eagles, 271 yards rushing. Andre Lewis, 260 yards receiving for Sam Cotterman's crew. Eastwood has 8 sacks already. Caden Donnell, 2 sacks. He's been playing defense, has not been able to play offense. He was coming into the season supposed to be their starting quarterback. We'll see when they get Caden back there as the signal caller. Neil Schuller is taking Eastwood in this matchup. I'm going to take Eastwood as well.
I'm going to take Eastwood as well, but if Lake, if they're looking for that signature win early, they're at home. If they play a clean ball game, I am interested to see if they have a chance in the second half of that one. I don't feel good enough to pick them, but if your Coach Bishop and company, this is one that could really, really springboard you going forward.
Measuring stick kind of game to see where they're at here early in the tenure of Coach Bishop there in Millbury as they get Eastwood at home. Game we're doing this week, Coach, we're going to head over to the NBC. A couple of newcomers to the NBC. Oak Harbor is at Maumee. Kazmaier Stadium should be rocking on Friday night. That's going to be our Gamecast presented by 3Chord on Friday night. We are pumped for this one.
Oh, I'm tickled to death. Haven't seen Oak Harbor in person. I know they played Liberty Center last year in the playoffs. I was somewhere else at least. Maumee, I coached against them many, many, many years, but haven't seen the modern day Evan Karchner Maumee Panthers. I am jacked for this. Kazmaier, as you said, the place is going to be rocking. There is, I know we're not picking this, but there is a common opponent between the two, the Bowser Blue Racers now. I almost called them by their old name. I don't want to offend anyone, but they're the Bowser Blue Racers. Common opponent. Oak Harbor beat Bowser 44-6, and Maumee beat Bowser 56-18. Now, I think after you get a 35-point lead, all the other numbers are insignificant because you're playing backups and things. So, bottom line is both teams rolled against Bowser in similar fashion. What's that mean? I don't know. Maumee's opponents are combined 1-8. Oak Harbor's are a combined 2-7. It's too early in the season to have that stuff matter. There's not a big enough sample size as far as who you've played and things.
Yeah, Maumee hasn't been 3-0 since 2009. Evan Karchner's a 2012 Maumee grad, but man, what he's done there. They had lost 48 of 49 before he got there.
I remember some of those teams, Lynn. We went over to Maumee, and they came to our place. I'll tell you this. They came to our place during that stretch, okay? And we played, it was senior night at Napoleon, and we started some seniors that didn't play as much. And I'll never forget this. We ran 26 buck, our first possession. We won the toss. We ran 26 buck, which is just like a little counter type play to the right, 26 buck. 6 straight times. The first 6 plays we ran, we just kept doing it because we were getting 8, 9, 10, 12 yards a crack. That's where they were. And so it was one of those where, as a coach, I mean, it was mindless because it was almost too easy. But I also remember the John Bowles coached Maumee teams when we got in the league back in 2011, back when Coach Karchner was playing, and Maumee had some bad dudes back then. And so I'm tickled because he's a class guy. Is it too early for a resurgent Maumee to knock off one of the conference heavyweights? That's what I'm tickled to see.
Yeah, Oak Harbor has been really good here the last few seasons. They're 25-3 since 2022. Won 3 playoff games, lost a year ago to Liberty Center. But man, a nice job over there is Coach May. First meeting last year, Oak Harbor won 49-7. Keyshawn Midcalf, look at some of these Maumee numbers. Keyshawn Midcalf, 36 rushes, 274 yards, 4 TDs. Cody Wolf, 36 carries, 196 yards, 5 touchdowns. Quarterback Ben Kubitz, 30 of 41, 627 yards. A third of his passes have went for touchdowns. He's got 10 TDs out of his 30 completions. And then you have Eli Dodson. I can't wait to see this kid play. He's got 5 catches for how many yards do you think?
Well, I know it's gaudy, and I have not seen the numbers you're referencing. So you said 5 catches?
Over 200 or below.
I was going to say 200 even. I was going to say 40 yards a catch.
204 yards on 5 catches. That's 40.8 yards per catch. Get out the calculator for that one.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns on his 5 catches.
Is it safe to say he has big play potential? Give me the young man's name again, Lynn.
Eli Dodson.
Eli Dodson.
5 catches, 204 yards. 3 of the 5 catches, touchdowns.
And here's where...
Is he just burning guys, or are they throwing some slip screens to him, or what are they doing? I can't wait to see Mr. Dodson suit up on Friday night.
And I'm telling you, it's going to spell... it's going to make the NBC that much better if Maumee can keep their guys at Maumee, because there's other options in that area. And some other places that are very desirable to play at, let's be honest. And so if Maumee gets it rolling, that is a great football town. And boy, oh boy.
Neil Schuller taking Oak Harbor. The Rockets have outscored their foes 134-13. Maumee's outscored theirs 153-40. The Rockets beat Port Clinton last week. But Neil likes Oak Harbor in this one. But man, talk about a measuring stick game, and a game that can put you on the map.
The key for Maumee, it sounds like coach speak, but it really is. And you look at the Patrick Henry Grove game last week. Maumee cannot beat themselves, so to speak. They've got to protect the football. A punt is not necessarily a bad play, and turnovers will kill you, especially on that big stage. Maumee hasn't played in a game like this in a few years. These kids that are on the team never have, and so can they respond? Evan Karchner will do a great job at keeping them even keel. Oak Harbor's been there, done that. And then can Maumee get a takeaway or two? I can't believe we're doing that one. That was one that was not on my radar back in July. No. And when you suggested it, oh man, this is going to be a dandy.
Next week, we are going to go to Eden, Bomber Country. Whiteford is in town to face the Bombers.
Do we have a spot?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
I have talked to Athletic Director Matt Ripke. He promised us that we will have a spot. Our good friend Andy Briggle and Mike Bum will also be there with WBNO, but we are also going to have the call of that one.
Oh, that is going to be sweet. I haven't seen the Bombers in person since we covered them at Ottawa Hills in the Village 2 years ago. Yeah. And Cohen Holbert and company were sophomores back then.
Kyler Sapp, Max Bradabaugh, Kendall Briggle, putting up some big offensive numbers. The following week, we've shifted our Fairview game last Friday of September. I believe that's the last Friday, right?
28th? Yes.
Paulding, Fairview.
27th, I think, maybe.
Maybe it's the last Friday.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep.
Paulding, Fairview at the reservation. Paul Junker's got us a spot for that one.
Yes, I did know that. And that one, again, looking back in July, you try to kind of map things out. Things change. Whew, that one's going to be fun.
And then we have Liberty Center at Patrick Henry the following week. And we'll figure out that should put us to week 7. We'll figure out our last 3 weeks. See what happens here with the conference picture and how those races go. But we're going to try to get to the best game the last 3 weeks, and then it's off to the playoffs, man. He's talking about the playoffs here pretty soon, which is
before you know it,
which is crazy. Seago is at Rossford this week, also in the NBC. Keegan Hutton having a nice year for Craig Rutherford and the Knights. 63 attempts, 337 yards rushing. Also has 105 yards receiving this season. Neil Schuller likes the Knights to get back on track after the LC loss.
Yeah, Rossford's only win came in week 1 against Northwood. They got beat up pretty good by Port Clinton and Evergreen. If you're Craig Rutherford, I'd say, assuming they came out relatively healthy last Friday against Liberty, got to like where you're at 2-1, rivalry win, week 1 against Bowling Green, week 2 against Tenora in a tight one, 14-9. 2-1. He's got to like where they're at, and the next 2 weeks look very, very favorable for the Knights. They could get to 5-1. Not only could they will be 5-1 here in a couple weeks. But first things first, I like them to.
Then Genoa, Oak Harbor, Eastwood, Lake, and what's that leave? Maumee, week 10 at Maumee at Kazmaier Stadium. NBC is going to be interesting this season. Every champion in the NBC's history has finished with an undefeated record in conference play. Does that change this year? Somebody going to navigate that unblemished again?
I want you to ask me that again next week.
Hot take.
I need to see Oak Harbor first.
Why can't you make a pick right now?
Because I have trouble judging until I see a team with my own eyes. And I'll give you a case in point. 2 years ago, Elmwood. I was not drinking that Kool-Aid until I saw them at Eastwood. Because sometimes I can't get past what happened with a program 3, 5, 10 or more years ago. I think history tends to be a pretty good barometer with certain programs. And I need to see Oak Harbor before I make an opinion. If Oak Harbor goes into Kazmaier and rolls Friday night, then I think there's a good chance the league champ doesn't have a blemish.
Okay.
Now Eastwood and Genoa, they all are going to have something to say about that. But I'm curious to watch Oak Harbor, because even last year with all the hype surrounding them, all positive praise, I should say, not hype, praise, because it was real. They were good. I still never quite took the bait on that. I just, I don't know, it's probably because they haven't been good enough over a long period of time for me, but I'm curious.
We'll revisit that next week.
Yeah.
I'll write that down.
Yep.
Revisit NBC.
I'll have a hard answer for you.
Okay, I like that. Let's talk about the 8-man game. Northern 8 this week. Chalker is at Toledo Christian. I believe that game is at Bowser this week. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that game is at Bowser this week. Tyler Gray, 17 of 30, 504 yards, 6 TDs already for Toledo Christian this season. Carter Kester, he's putting up Eli Dodson type numbers too. 9 catches, 286 yards, 4 touchdowns for Carter Kester this season, as Toledo Christian has looked really good with their wins over teams up in the Wolverine State the first 2 weeks. Neil wanted me to make sure I gave a shout out to defensive lineman Dalton Cavazos. 96-yard pick 6 that I talked about on Rise and Rewind Saturday morning. The defensive lineman took one back. 96 yards.
Wow. That's impressive, man.
Schuller likes Toledo Christian. They are the pick until they prove not to be, which is no time soon.
No.
I agree with that.
I agree with that as well. I like Toledo Christian. For folks that don't know where Southington, Ohio is, that's Chalker, Southington, Chalker. That was in almost...
Did you go right by that?
Yeah, I did, and Niles and Hubbard and Girard and all those schools in Northeast Ohio on the border with Pennsylvania. Southington's right there, way east of Cleveland, just west of the Pennsylvania line. That's a long bus ride.
It's probably a good 3 hours, if not more.
Yep.
Probably close to 4.
Yeah, I would say probably 3.5-ish.
Bus,
and,
yeah.
Wow. Phew.
Yeah, that will be a haul. But, yeah, I like Toledo Christian, too, man. They just have way too many weapons.
Yeah, they do.
This season, and their defense is not too shabby either. They don't take a back seat to that offense.
No, and sometimes we forget about the defenses, right?
Yeah.
Especially when the offenses are really good.
Yeah, Kester's good on the defensive side. O'Neill's good over there. Cavazos is excellent as well. Stryker 1-1. They are at Danbury, who is 1-1, rounding out the Northern 8 conference picks for us this week. Can Stryker get back on track after taking a shellacking by Holgate a week ago?
I'm going to go with the Stryker Panthers. I'm going to go with Stryker. I don't know a whole lot about Danbury. And I like the Panthers to go on the road. I don't know where they're at health-wise and numbers-wise, but I'm going to have trouble picking against Coach Holsopple and the Panthers.
Okay.
But the Lakers they'll be ready to play at home.
I think Danbury had the player of the week in the Northern 8 last week. They did. Tommy Dean, 10 of 16 passing, 230 yards, 4 TDs, rushed for 36 yards, and had 3 two-point conversions. Also had 3 tackles and an interception as they beat Fremont St. Joseph Central Catholic 30-18 last week.
Yeah, I should probably revisit that pick. I'm going to stay with Stryker.
I am not going with the Panthers because I'm going to pick up a game right here, and I'm going with Danbury.
Yeah, I think you got me, but I'll stick with it.
Schuller is going to go with Stryker 2.
Okay.
He says it's a 50-50 game, and he's going with Stryker, but I'm going with Danbury.
All right, Coach Holsopple, do me a solid here, big guy. If you want me to come talk to the troops before you head to Lakeside, say the word. We can even do a Zoom or something if you got a classroom.
Do you think that's going to help?
It might. I'm willing to do it. I don't want to give up a game.
Man, you're getting desperate here trying to give pep talks to teams that
I'll do it.
We have a disagreement about.
I'll do it as long as I'll do it for free.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to get paid for this. Jeez.
Yeah, I was going to try to get
a side gig or what?
I was going to try to get like a gas card for Main Stop. Thought maybe Jeff Herb would throw that in.
Probably would.
He's a Stryker guy. Yeah.
He probably would do that. Holgate on a bye this week.
Heal up a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. After the win over Stryker last week, also won in week 1 there. So Tigers will be back in action next week. Let's take a break in here from the Swanton Welding Company. The Swanton Welding Company proudly supports our local student athletes and coaches. We're committed to being your local steel fabrication company in Northwest Ohio and building projects across the country. For job opportunities at the Swanton Welding Company, visit www.swantonweld.com or visit them at 407 Zider Way in Swanton. Thank you again to the Swanton Welding Company for their continued support every season and this season as well. Let's move it to Neil Schuller Country, the NLL crossover games this week. We're going to start with Findlay at Clay. Trojans come in 1-2. Clay is 2-1. Clay has 1,148 yards, 704 passing, 444 rushing. Mason Heinschel, 676 yards passing, 12 TDs. He's also ran for 211. Troy Hazuda, 17 catches, 209 yards. Neil says Findlay gets it done in this one. He thinks they found their footing and rhythm against Southview. Defense will limit Clay's offensive attack. This may be closer than what you think, though. You think it's going to be close?
I do. I was going to say it's going to be Initially, I highlighted Finley, no doubt in my mind. The more I think about it,
Wait. You going to jump on the Clay bandwagon?
Not yet, but I was going to say, you remember over the last few weeks where I kind of laid down the gauntlet for the Clay Eagles. I'm not convinced yet. This would be the game that I think puts Clay on the map. At home, too. And Finley coming off, feeling pretty good about themselves, getting a lot of pats on the back. Are the Trojans, can the young freshman quarterback,
he got the game one player of the week.
He did. Schuller wouldn't have given him that if he wasn't consistent. So Clay has a puncher's chance at home, and I'm going to kick myself if they get it done because I think they have a chance to do it. I just think Finley...
Well, then show some guts, Strock.
I think Finley, I also have common sense, and I think Finley has too many guys at key positions, the size of the school, they've got some options there. Finley gets it done, but it may be a nail biter. I'm going with Finley.
I'm going with Finley, too. I think it could be, they can protect Mr. Heinzel. I think they got a chance in this one. I think they got a real chance to make this real competitive.
I think if they can make the freshman quarterback uncomfortable, maybe that'll help. I think Clay has a chance. I really do.
Napoleon at Anthony Wayne. Wildcats coming at 2-1. Anthony Wayne at 3-0. AW has not lost to Napoleon since 2016, 14-7. You remember that one?
Remember it very well. They rolled into Buckenmeyer Stadium. They had a heck of a quarterback, Evan Brown. And we possessed, they had 2 possessions in the first half, Lynn. They had 2 possessions in the first half. And so our game plan going into that game, because most years at Napoleon, you're not going to have enough guys to match up mano-a-mano and duke it out with Perrysburg, AW, and those guys back in the old NLL. So you had to try to find an advantage. So what we did is that night we moved our running backs up almost a full yard. So our running backs' face masks were almost on the quarterback's rear end. And so we did that, so every single thing hit quick. And we also made up our mind we weren't going to punt on 4th down if it were, say, less than 2 yards, because we knew...
No matter where you were on the field?
No matter where we were on the field, because we knew if they didn't have the ball, they couldn't score. So our first possession, we were getting about 3.5 yards a carry, and lo and behold, we get to 4th and 1, 4th and 2 on our own 40. And we go for it, and we get it, and we possess the ball, we go down, score, take the lead, and we had some exceptional guys that made plays in that game. And Andy Brungard will tell you to this day, one of the worst losses, one of the most shocking losses, because he thought his guys overlooked us a little bit, and they were, 8-2 that year, maybe?
Oh, way better than that. They were 10-4 that year. That was the year they got to the state. They've been state semis back then.
What was the regular season record?
Well, they would have been 7-3.
7-3. Okay. And
lost to Finley, lost to Napoleon, and lost to Springfield that season.
Yeah, Springfield was good.
Beat Glenville 21-7 in the first round of the playoffs. Avon Lake 14-6. Got by Olmsted Falls 38-31, and then lost to LaSalle 35-0.
And here, so you said they beat Glenville, right, Lynn?
Yep.
And so I'll tell you something for reference. How much?
So that Anthony Wayne team was for real.
They were for real, and I want to give you something for reference here. So we finished 5-5 that year, okay? Finished 5-5 that year, and in the 11 spot. We beat an Anthony Wayne team who beat Glenville, who beat Avon Lake, who beat Findlay, right? And we finish 11, and there's no playoffs. And the reason I've always been for the expansion is what you just said right there. So we are 11th, and we didn't make the playoffs, and those were the rules at the time. But we're also playing schools double our size, and we have that win, and we'd have had to have been 6-4, 7-3. Now we get in the 11th spot, a team that beat you wouldn't have wanted to play that 2016 team that I had there. So that's why I've always been for the expansion. And then you look back and it's frustrating because you think of all those years, which would have been almost every year, where we were just on the outside looking in. So I remember that game well, and we beat Perrysburg and Anthony Wayne a combined 7 times, Lynn, since we got in the league in 2011. Beat them a combined 7 times, which is something that I'm very proud of, and beat Anthony Wayne 4 of those. 2 times on the last second field goal, we beat Anthony Wayne. Okay. 2 times on the last second field goal, and then in 2012, we beat them in double overtime. Double overtime. And so I've got some thoughts on this game.
Do you want to hear Schuller's first?
Yeah.
He says the Generals are rolling and too much for Napoleon at home.
Okay. The first part's true. I think on paper, Anthony Wayne's the kind of the easy pick, conventional pick. Anthony Wayne 3-0 at home. Schuller Stadium's God, that's a hard place to play. I hated playing there when I was coaching, even though we won a couple there. Hated playing there. Napoleon has a chance rolling in there at 2-1.
Anthony Wayne has played teams with a combined record of 1-8. Hilliard Darby's 0-3, St. John's is 0-3, and Bowling Green is 1-2. Have to give Napoleon the edge in the competition that I know Northview a week ago, Northview's winless, but they played Liberty Center and Defiance the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and
they led Liberty Center 7-6 at the half of that one.
Yep.
Now, it wasn't that close in the grand scheme of things, but they did have a lead.
Yep. The one advantage Anthony Wayne does have when you look at Darby and St. John's, regardless of their records, is the types of guys they have, with some of the size and speed and athleticism and things like that. That equips Anthony Wayne well to go in and scheme against a Trey Rubenstein and things like that. Napoleon has a chance. Napoleon has a real chance in this game. Grant Kinney, he can beat you with his feet. I mean, he's bona fide. But their passing game, if Napoleon can somehow force them to go to the air, and now you're putting the ball in the air, and Trey Rubenstein, who's a ball hawk, has a chance to go get it, Napoleon has a chance. I have to pick Anthony Wayne in this game because they're at home, and they're very, very difficult to beat at home, and they are extremely, extremely well coached. Napoleon's going to need a couple of big chunks from Rubenstein from Owen Espinoza. He's got some guys that can make plays. Parker Woods, whatever his status is going to matter, because when he's on the field opposite Trey Rubenstein, they become much more difficult to defend. Can Napoleon hold up in the trenches, even though AW has some new faces there? We'll see. But I'm going to go with the Generals at home, but don't be a bit surprised if Napoleon's right there.
Okay. I agree with that, but I'm going to take Anthony Wayne too.
All right.
Yep. So is Schuller. He's got Anthony Wayne in that matchup. Let's take another break and hear from White Pines Golf Course. Ready to hit the links? Grab your clubs and head to White Pines Golf Course at 1640 County Road 2 in Swan. wanting. For a tee time or to sign up for their events, call 419-875-5535 or visit whitepinesgc.com. Also, sign up for their early membership of $885 or $796.50 for seniors 55 and older. Early membership is play now, and greens fees are covered for the rest of 2024 and all of 2025. When you play White Pines Golf Course, the experience will exceed your expectations. Thank you to White Pines Golf Course. They have their Folds of Honor event coming up this Saturday. If you got nothing going on, head on out to White Pines and sign up for that event. I don't know if they still have spots or not available, but give them a call at the number just there on their ad, and you can find out.
Yeah,
the links.
They never get stale or stagnant at White Pines. With all the success they've had and the reputation of their course being so positive, you would think they could rest on their laurels a little bit, but they're constantly coming up with new events and different things to stay a step ahead of the competition, which is what they've done.
Yes, they have. Also, the sponsor of our Rise and Rewind show on Saturday mornings,
which I will be here for this week.
Oh,
Lynn.
you will?
I'm going to. Doggone it. I just feel like I let you down, my friend. Ain't gonna happen again.
Okay.
Ain't gonna happen again.
Glad to have you back. What time are you thinking? 9 a.m.?
I'm good with 9 a.m.
Okay.
I'm good with 9 a.m.
Let me sleep in a Saturday morning.
You deserve it, man. You've carried me this far.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
I may stay up a little later Friday night watching highlights and so forth.
Okay. Do it. Also, NLL crossover games this week. Whitmer 2-1 at Fremont Ross. The Little Giants 1-2 on the season. Whitmer, too many weapons for Ross to account for, is Neil Schuller's insight on this one. I have to agree. I like the Panthers.
Yeah, I do too, and I'd love to be able to concoct a scenario where the Little Giants maybe shock the world. I just don't see it happening. I think they'll play tough at home. Don Paul Stadium's can be a hostile environment sometimes, but Whitmer, the way they're built this year, they're a little bit different. I think they roll.
Yep, I agree with that. NLL CHSL game of the week presented by Game 1 is going to be at Springfield this week with the Bobcats at Bowling Green in town. That's where Neil Schuller will be on Friday night. Bowling Green's 2 losses against Otsego and Anthony Wayne. Springfield losses to Maumee and Start. Neil Schuller not picking this one, but you and I are, and I like the Bobcats on the road.
Yeah, Bowling Green's one of those. There's a few different tiers of the NLL, and Bowling Green's kind of in that middle-ish tier. Springfield, looking to continue to rebuild that foundation there in that program. They did get a win week 2, 16-8 against Rogers. They fell 28-7 last week to Start, and this is a game where I think Bowling Green kind of knocks off a little bit of rust and rolls.
Lima Senior, 3-0. They are at Northview in the City League NLL crossover game this week. Lima Senior has won 10 straight regular season games dating back to last year. Northview has been outscored 134 to zilch. 134-0 through 3 weeks. I don't know that it gets any better for the Northview Wildcats this week. I think the Spartans are going to come up to Sylvania and maybe name their score in this matchup.
Wow, man. Yeah, you said a couple weeks ago that your sources told you that Lima Senior could knock off Findlay, and I
didn't believe me, did you?
I wanted to, but I just
have
couldn't.
Good sources out there, and I'm not revealing them.
No, I know you do.
Bill Lawrence has that Lima Senior program rolling, a Kenton guy.
Yep, he does, and I'm telling you, we've coached against some Lima Senior teams that had some absolute superstars. I remember the name of a running back that they had years ago, Lynn, men that we coached against that to this day, one of the shiftiest, most dynamic running backs that I've ever coached against. And his name was Keithy Lazenby. Keithy Lazenby. Think of that running back Orville had a few years ago against Liberty Center.
Oh, yeah.
Markel Parks.
Parks, yeah.
Like that. And trying to tackle, I mean, he'd be hard to corral in a phone booth, let alone on a football field. But Lima Senior, when they're rolling, that's a proud program with a state championship to its credit under Leonard Rush back in the 90s.
They've had the right coach in there.
Oh, Mike Fell had a nice run, right.
Get some discipline and the right kind of coaching.
Yeah.
It's a scary program.
Yep.
When they get the right leader in there.
It's a great point, actually. But a lot of pride there at Lima Senior High School, and I'm afraid it's going to be a long night for the Northview Wildcats. Give me Lima Senior.
Yep, give Lima Senior to Neil Schuller and I as well. Here's an interesting game. Perrysburg at Southview. Perrysburg coming in at 3-0. Southview 2-1 on the season. The Jackets have had shutouts the past 2 weeks, trending in the right direction. Will they be too much for Southview, which has put up 1,011 yards to their opponent's 557 yards? Mo MacArthur, 298 yards rushing, 5 TDs for the Cougars so far. Josh Tackett has ran for 227, passed for 351 for the Jackets. Joe Sinney, they're a really good linebacker. He has 6 rushing TDs already on the season. Dominic Woods, 10 catches, 227 yards, 3 TDs for Perrysburg. This would be a big win for the Cougars if they can get it done. Can they get it done?
You know, Southview won the Cardinal Division,
yes.
Right? And they're that Cardinal Division team that I think the last couple years, last year, people felt like if anybody in the Cardinal's going to knock off a big dog in the Buckeye, it's probably going to be Southview, the way they're built. And this is one where Southview's been close. They've been close. Is this the year at home that they can knock off one of the big dogs of the Buckeye?
Here's a little Neil Schuller insight. He must know something that we don't. He said that the Cougars are dealing with some injuries. He didn't name who, but he says they have some injuries right now.
Okay.
If that helps your pick.
Well, it doesn't change what I was going to do. Their job may be a little bit tougher depending on the nature and who's injured, but can't bet against Dirk Connor and the Perrysburg Yellow Jackets. I talk about Bill Inselman being really good at getting his guys dialed in on a weekly basis. Dirk Connor at Perrysburg is exceptional at getting his guys refocused each week, and they're going to go on the road and get it done, but Southview they'll duke it out with them for a while.
They'll put up a fight, will the Cougars, but I like Perrysburg as well in that matchup. Let's take another break and hear from K. Kern Painting. K. Kern Painting is a proud sponsor of Northwest Ohio Athletics. K. Kern Painting was formed in 1998 by Kinsey Kern in Toledo and now has a footprint in Toledo, Cleveland, and Michigan, and has road crews traveling throughout the United States. For a free estimate or job opportunities with K. Kern Painting, visit their website at kkernpainting.com or call 419-351-1250 or stop by their Toledo location at 211 North Reynolds Road. Thank you to Kenzie and his support this season. He was in here last week when we were doing our football show and our podcast and got to see the former All-Ohioan and state champion for the Liberty Center Tigers.
Yep, he's got a son that's a senior on this Liberty Center football team, understands how special it is. That's quite an operation Kenzie Kern's built in K. Kern Painting.
Did he tell us it was the second biggest in the nation?
It was something
right up there.
Yes, it was. And
wow.
It's crazy. You look at some of the successful business people in this community. It's impressive. You look at, Kenzie Kern. You look at Kyle Kern, who's built an empire at KK Collision. Our good friend Norm Zeider at Swanton Welding. I mean, Liberty Center has some people that understand how the business world works. I'll tell you that.
Carl Carter was telling me about Connor Sonnenberg's little operation down the road, just beside the Carter home Armstead there.
Yeah,
he's got quite an operation too.
He does.
Carl was telling me last week. Oh my goodness.
Coats,
coats.
puts a ceramic coating on vehicles and boats. And
I tell you what, that dude is a worker, because my house is a couple miles away, and I drive by there at 6 a.m. or 11 p.m. at night. They got something going on out there.
They do, and so Connor's always been, whatever age he is, going on like 40. He's always been ahead of his time. And then when a lot of times people talk about this generation doesn't work as hard as it, Connor Sonnenberg breaks
he
that
also
mold,
does the
buddy.
video highlight
he
stuff for
does.
Liberty Center.
He does.
It's amazing.
He's always just been wired different, comes from great stock, has outstanding parents, and boy, he's just a go-getter, that dude. And if I ever need anything coated, he'd be my guy, but I don't have anything worth coating. My 06 Honda Pilot, can he coat that?
I guarantee you he could. He would figure it out. Then you have the Badenhops here.
They understand a thing or two.
Meyer Badenhop Insurance.
You got Greg, the young shaker and mover, and then you have Neil, Glenn's brother Neil, but you have Glenn, the savvy veteran who infuses Greg with the wisdom. It's quite an operation.
Yeah, it is. Can't even get a smile out of Glenn.
No, he's
focused on business right now.
I know he is. He's looking at what moved. He's playing chess while a lot of other convenience
he's got the Tiger game on.
Yeah, they're up 1-0.
You can't pull him away from the Tiger.
They're within 3 games of the wild card, for crying out loud.
I was just going to ask you, are they in the race? My Reds are out, so I've given up on baseball this year.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'll watch the first few games of the season, and if I don't like what I see, I'm done. And my dad and my son Grant, they don't miss a pitch. They'll watch every pitch, even if they're 30 games out of first. They'll watch every pitch of every game. You couldn't pay me enough to do it.
There.
And so about 3 weeks ago, Grant's looking at the wild card standings, and I'm like, "What are you wasting your time for, dude? We're still rebuilding, from '87." And he goes, "I think we have a chance." And here we are, 3 games out.
You tuning back in?
No, I'm done. I always tell my dad, once football season kicks off, I don't even know baseball exists. I'm serious. Prior to football, I'm all baseball. But once football starts, man, no. And I love baseball. But when it's football season, that's it. I guarantee you.
Dialed in, huh?
Oh, yeah. I guarantee you, Bird Dog's home watching, hanging on to every pitch of this Tigers-Rockies game. I could care less.
Wow.
And I never used to be like that. But, yeah, Grant's a little more like my dad.
Always on the TV. They won't throw on the radio.
Yeah, oh, yeah. If it's a West Coast game, Grant will have it on the radio if it's not on Bally's or whatever. But he subscribes to whatever he's got to subscribe to, and he gets every game. I don't think it's worth it, but he does.
That's impressive.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. CHSL this week. How about St. Francis and Josh Linke? 2-1. They're going to Clyde, who is 3-0. Raheem Brown, 9 catches, 263 yards, 5 TDs. What's going on with all these receivers that are putting up these gaudy numbers?
I can't relate. I'll tell you that.
This is crazy. Mr. Dodson there from Maumee putting up incredible numbers, 5 catches or whatever it was for 204 yards, 40 yards per catch. And then you have Raheem Brown, 9 catches, 263 yards, 5 of the 9 have went for touchdowns. Eli Beal, who came over from Springfield, 410 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. He's also got 7 catches, 100 yards, and a TD. And then their quarterback, Corey Schwartz, 30 of 42, 530 yards, 7 TDs. Do the Knights go to 3-1?
No.
At Clyde?
No.
Whoa.
You don't roll into Bob Bishop Stadium and shove the Flyers around. That one...
They've beat 2 1-2 teams and an 0-3 team have the Flyers.
That's right. But I'm telling you, the Flyers are rugged. Now, I would love to be able to watch this football game. We're going to find out if Clyde's a legitimate 3-0 because St. Francis is going to test them. And here's the thing. I'm taking the Clyde Flyers just based on historical stuff. St. Francis...
Well, it's not historical. They're not playing the 1990 1990 Clyde Flyers.
No, they're not, but
You got to go with this year's Strock.
you draw on that. You draw on that tradition. And St.
I think
Francis
you're making
could,
a mistake here.
St. Francis could go in there and roll because they're explosive. They're different. We know they're different. But until they do it, I'm going with the Clyde Flyers. I've got way too much depth of knowledge about how this football world works. And I'm not ready to relent yet. Give me Clyde.
I'm going with St. Francis, and so is Neil Schuller. You're lucky you didn't make this pick a week ago when all those St. Francis boys were here, because you'd be hung upside down right now.
Did you see the size of a couple of those dudes?
Exactly. You'd be in a headlock in a figure four or something.
I would have picked them if they were playing the Lions.
Boy, those guys were impressive a week ago. If you haven't gotten to our YouTube channel to see our KK Collision football show, head on over there and watch last week's episode with the St. Francis crew.
I rewatched that whole thing. I really
I did too.
And
I would urge you to watch that if you have not.
it was great. Coaches, parents, players.
Yeah.
It's good.
Anybody.
Good
It's
for everybody.
life lessons in that.
I want to designate someone who's listening to this. You need to be our informant, and I want bi-quarterly updates of St. Francis Clyde, because we've got dissension. Lynn and Neil against me on this one, and
This isn't the old St. Francis.
It's not. The Josh Linkey version is new and improved, buddy. Polished that thing up, tricked it out a little bit. They're gonna be rolling into Clyde, but Clyde's a different place, buddy. Clyde will be sitting there waiting, and they'll be ready to duke it out. I'm telling you.
I think they'll be ready to duke it out, but I don't think they got enough for this St. Francis team.
I can't wait. Boy, I could have egg on my face here,
Yeah,
or
you
I could say, I told you so.
That you could. River Rouge 1-1 at St. John's, who is 0-3 this season. St. John's team looking for some answers. Need to find them quickly. Won this game a year ago. Tell you what, this River Rouge team has some dudes. Nick Marsh, 3-star receiver, going to Michigan State. Jordan Farrow, a 3-star defensive tackle, going to Toledo. Devon Hill, a 3-star athlete. He's going to Davenport. Let's see what else Neil Schuller has. Rivalry matchup on the horizon next week with St. Francis coming to Leiden Stadium. Can the Johnnies get on track? He says it's not going to happen again. He doesn't think that the Titans are going to get him again this year. River Rouge is Neil Schuller's pick. That's my pick too.
Well, if there's any indecision amongst anyone, let me be the one to remind you. Jeff Ratliff.
Home of the Jeff Ratliff.
And so you talk about tradition and drawing on the ghosts.
That has some weight this week.
Oh, you think these Rouge kids, as they're coming into, I know Jeff resides in Napoleon, but they're coming into really arguably Jeff's stomping grounds. You think those kids don't know that?
What if Jeff Ratliff makes an appearance at Leiden Stadium? If he heads up to Airport Highway, if he doesn't have to cover a Henry County team on Friday night, is he going to go watch his hometown?
I can't. The emotion that might overtake.
Can he give him a pregame speech? What would that be like?
It would be emotional. They know him. He knows them.
If Jeff Ratliff gives the pregame speech, do they lose a game?
No. I just think his schedule doesn't allow it because of his obligations here in Henry County.
I was just curious if they would let him head that way.
Well, they'd love it, but I don't think so. I'm also going with Rouge based on everything that we said. Would be a good week for St. John's to get healthy, but they're going to have their hands full with some of those dogs you talked about. Give me the Rouge. I wouldn't doubt if whatever game Rat's covering Friday night, if he breaks out the old Rouge varsity jacket.
You think he's got it still?
I guarantee he's
still
got
fits?
it. Well, it might be a little snug.
Okay.
He might have to have it altered slightly, but he's got something Rouge, I guarantee you.
I guarantee you he does too. How would you like to be Birmingham Brother Rice? You're 0-2. You're going to Cherry Street, Gallagher Stadium to face the two-time defending Central Catholic state champions. Do they have any chance in this game, or is this just going to be a massacre?
I think if Brother Rice had the option of just mailing this in, that would be their best bet. Central Catholic not only will be in a bad mood, they will have some mistakes cleaned up, they'll execute better, and they're going to do it all while having a massive chip on their shoulder. And Central rolls in this one.
I agree with that. I like the Fighting Irish as well. In that matchup, let's take another break and hear from American Freedom Energy. American Freedom Energy in Grandma's General Store off Route 24 on State Route 109, just south of Liberty Center, now has 88 unleaded fuel and is your one-stop shop for fuel, food, drinks, and much, much more, including locally raised meats and home-baked goods. American Freedom Energy in Grandma's General Store is proud to support Black Swamp Football and is the host of the Black Swamp Football podcast, football show, and Saturday mornings Rise and Rewind. Stop in and see Glenn and Greg today and make American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store a part of your everyday routine. Thank you to our host here at American Freedom Energy Grandma's General Store, Toledo Chuck Wagon. Will be here on Friday night as Archbold is in town for the NWAL opener against the hometown Tigers. I hear they got a pretty good smash burger.
The Chuck Wagon, huh?
The Chuck Wagon does. I'm going to put my order in, see if somebody can save me one until Saturday morning, because I'm going to take that home and eat that for the noon kickoff.
Are you?
College football. Somebody will save me one. But you're going to have to lock that up, Hopper.
Can you imagine that thing sitting here Saturday morning when that coffee club
what
rolls
about
in?
Friday night after they come back from the game?
Yeah.
He may have to put it in, well, I was going to say he could put it in his fridge at his house, but I don't even want to give them the idea of taking the 30-yard walk across the yard here and scavenging through Glenn Badenhop's.
Well, then you run the risk of Glenn getting into it as well.
That's true.
You know, he might get the munchies.
I may have to get my wife to pick me one up on our way home from work on Friday and store that thing away at our house.
Isn't it crazy?
That's my only hope.
All these years with the history of the hamburger, the smash burger craze, just a thin, pressed burger patty, but you'd act
crispy.
Like, yeah, it is, and you'd think it was like the hamburger was just invented 2 years ago. It used to just be, you'd get those at small bars all over the United States, and now it's some big phenomenon. I do them on my griddle all the time.
What do you put on your burger?
Just American cheese, period.
That's it?
Period. I've never put any other substance on a burger in my life.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's verifiable.
No mustard or ketchup?
No. If it gets near it, I will lose it. I will come unglued.
Have you never heard the Jimmy Buffett song?
Yeah, I have. But a good burger, just like a good steak doesn't need steak sauce, a good burger.
Well, I agree with that, but a burger needs.
It should stand on its own. I want to taste
onion.
No, I want
cheese.
I want to taste
mustard, ketchup.
Nope. I want to taste the meat.
Sesame
and cheese.
bun, toasted. You like your buns toasted?
I don't mind them toasted. No sesame seeds though. Those are annoying. It's like putting sprinkles on cookies and cupcakes.
What's wrong with that?
Because it's not necessary. Give me meat and potatoes. And these people that have these burgers that are all just drives me insane. Come on, people.
No special sauce?
God, no, I'd throw up. That's just unnecessary. That's why we have some of the issues we do in this country. We need to get back to just the basics. Yeah. Running, blocking, tackling, control the ball, plain burgers. We don't need all this other stuff. And that's part of where I think this country started spiraling. And we got to get it back. We got to get it back.
You know what I've been seeing out there?
What's that?
The pumpkin cookies are back.
Oh, got that dollop
Cheryl
of cream
Mann's.
cheese frosting on them. Yeah. Now that's acceptable. That's acceptable. And I didn't realize they were back out there.
I forgot. I was going to pick up a package of those, and while you're running your yapper on this show, I was going to eat a few. But I forgot to pick some up.
I will be picking.
I'm taking some of those home.
I am too. And I'm also taking home some brats tonight. I told Cindy before I left, you're on your own. I'm bringing brats home from...
What do you put on your brat?
Zilch, bread and bratwurst.
What about an Italian sausage? A little onion,
Nope.
tomato, pepper.
Nope, I've never.
No?
Nope, I've never put.
Just plain brat?
I've never put a substance on a hot dog, a brat, a burger ever
But do
in
you
my
like
life.
flavored brats? Italian brats?
As long as there's not pieces of anything green or red or anything in them, because sometimes they get cute with those sausages, and they got to put little speckles of green and stuff.
What about jalapeno and cheese?
No, God, no. Cheese is the only acceptable.
So
only
just cheddar
acceptable.
brats is all you'll go
That's
with.
it. That's it. These people get these Hawaiian brats and stuff, and I act like, oh, yeah, that sounds good, and I'm thinking in my head there's something wrong with them. I think you need to take a look at some of these people that eat some of these things and do a psychological profile on them, because they're not normal. They're not normal.
I just want to get some insight there, how you think, and you're...
And anyone who knows me, Lynn, and they're listening, they're shaking their head going, he ain't lying.
I've heard some stories from Spike Whitman about your gluttony.
Yeah.
I heard the buffets are not safe when you're around.
No, man. No, I can't do what I used to do.
How do you think has Spike Whitman recovered from Sunday night's Lions victory?
Oh, man.
Did you stay up for that?
You know what?
I went to bed. It was 20-17, and I went to bed.
I did too.
And they won an OT, I saw.
I did too. And the first message I saw Monday morning was from my son. He said, that just took 3 years off my life. And I thought, okay, they either won or lost. That could mean one or the other. And I looked and saw they won. I did go to bed early. NFL to me.
And you call yourself a Lions fan?
Yeah, that's how confident I am that they'll get it done. There was really little to no doubt. And I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan, big Stafford guy. But in the past, the Lions don't win that game. And
But did you see a year ago? They won those games. Come on, have some confidence.
Some.
I try to instill that in you and Normie Zeider.
But Lynn, you talk about history as a Lions fan.
That's in the past.
They've jumped off sides on 3rd and 1 for 57 straight years. That doesn't change overnight. Now, Dan Campbell's helping it. He's helping it. But there's a culture overhaul that is finally happening. And I'm
Did we give our Central Catholic picks?
yes.
Now that we've gotten way off base. We all took
You
Central.
did not say Neil's, though, I don't think.
Neil has got Central Catholic as well. All right, let's get back on track here.
All right.
Green Meadows Conference. Ayersville at Fairview. The Pilots 0-3. Fairview 2-1. Ayersville's been outscored 166-15. How about these stats that Fairview's putting on? Man, Doug Rakes has got that offense cranked up again. Gavin Mead, 24 catches, 320 yards, 3 TDs. Logan Olinger, 21 catches, 317 yards, 4 TDs. William Zedike, the maestro of that offense for the Apaches this season, 73 of 110, 915 yards, 10 touchdowns, just 1 pick. But the Apaches, the thing that I'm worried about, they're giving up 273.7 yards per game rushing.
Ooh.
We got to get that fixed over there at Fairview. But I like them this week to take down the Pilots.
I do too. Will Zedike, man, I saw him his freshman year. We covered Lipsick at Fairview. He's been doing it a long time. He's one of those guys that seems like he's been there forever. And you called him the maestro, and he is. But Coach Rakes, we got to get that run defense short up a little bit. That's unacceptable. I don't care how many you score. But I like them at home. They're getting better and better and better. Fairview's going to be a problem going forward. Can Ayersville close the gap? Can they improve?
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. Neil Schuller likes Fairview as well in that matchup. We're going to see the Apaches here in a couple weeks when Paulding comes to town. That may have some major major GMC implications on that matchup.
I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, we got some good ones on the horizon. Antwerp 2-1 at Edgerton, who is also 2-1 this week. Neil Schuller thinks it'll go into the fourth quarter, but he likes Edgerton to get the victory in this matchup.
Neil's done some homework, Lynn. The old Neil would have ridden with Antwerp through and through and through there. I have an informant. I have a mole out there in the football world in that neck of the woods.
Wonder who that could be.
And I was originally going to go with Antwerp, okay? Until I was educated this afternoon by my mole. And he assured me that Edgerton at home would get it done. And because I trust this gentleman, I am going to heed his advice, and I'm going with the Edgerton Bulldogs based on the advantage I think they may have in the trenches. You can count on one hand the number of times I've picked against Antwerp in the last 3-4 years. Add this to the list.
Add it to my list, too.
Ooh.
I'm picking Edgerton.
Are you?
Walk up, Krantz.
I know.
Maddox Baker triggering that offense.
What's Coach Hale going to think of this?
Well, too bad, Coach Hale.
Okay.
Better get better. Better coach him up, Hale. Because right now, I'm not sure. He took it on the chin against Eden.
He did.
Edgerton played those guys a lot closer.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Brody Flagel and the Bulldogs to get it done.
Yeah, Flagel's another
good guy. Yes,
he
man,
is.
what a nice guy he is. So all going to take Edgerton in that matchup. Tenora, Smartin 0-3, but man, if they played a rugged schedule. Liberty Center, Seago, and Archbold, then you can say what you want about the game a week ago. Probably should have been in the win column for the Rams.
Yep.
But nothing in the bylaws from the OHSAA that you can change an outcome. It's official.
It's official, and it'll be talked about, but in a week or two, it'll fade. And there's a lot of endings in sport, be it football, basketball, probably the two sports where you have the most controversy at times. And it happens. I was on the road early Saturday morning, so I thought about that, a lot of time to think, and I'm playing in my head as a coach, as the opposing coach. We got an onside kick one year, Lynn, against Defiance that sealed that game for us, and we probably shouldn't have gotten that onside kick. I think the officials may have made a blunder there, and I talked to Jerry Beauty after that game, and he was so sportsmanlike after that game, and I told him, I said, Jerry, I don't think I could have handled that as well as you did, because I think you had victory maybe snatched from you there. And he said, if we'd have played better throughout the course of the game, it wouldn't have mattered. How about that for an old school outlook on things? And so those things happen, and you're right, it's going to stand. And
put yourself in that side of it on a coach that you probably should have lost the game. Do you feel remorse? What is your course of action, I guess? What can you do?
Yeah, it's tough because they had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if my team scores a touchdown, okay, and I watched the film and I saw that my right tackle held the guy like it was the most blatant holding call ever, but they didn't call it right in front of the official's face, but we still score a touchdown. Am I giving that touchdown back? No, I'm not. So there are a lot of plays throughout the course of a game that go into determining the outcome. It's just unfortunate that was the last play. It
magnifies it.
Just magnifies it. It's like a foul call or no call at the end of a basketball game. If that, so it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate.
This one really wasn't those are kind of judgment calls, I would say.
Right.
This isn't a judgment call.
lot more
It
black.
went through the uprights.
Right. It's
I mean,
black and
I
white,
mean,
right?
anybody out there that says, "Oh no, it fell short." No, come on.
Yeah.
You got to watch the film. It went through.
It's like watching a free throw in basketball. Did the ball go in or not? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not
it's cut and dry.
It's not a block charge call, right?
Yeah.
So it's boy, that one's gotten a lot of attention, and you just, neither team asked for it. You feel horrible. That young man for Tenora,
Jacob Bishop.
Oh, that was a
48 yards, man.
Historical kick, and I was gutted for him and Coach Becker and Tenora, especially that gauntlet they've played. You know, that was going to be a springboard going forward, and then on the flip side, Archbold didn't ask for that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, they don't hire the officials.
No, that's done well in advance, and it just it happens, and that's the human element of sport.
Yeah.
You know, you can go back and there's thousands of games that hinged on something controversial that happened at the end, and this is just unfortunately one in a long list. And I'm just glad I wasn't a part of it, because it's hard to lose those games. That's especially hard.
Tenora's going to get on track this week. They're going to get win number 1 at Hicksville.
Yep. Tenora wins this one. Hopefully they're relatively healthy. Week 4 healthy, I guess you'd call it. But I like the Rambos they're going to win some games.
Yeah.
They're going to win some games.
They're going to be in this GMC discussion just because of the schedule they played.
I do too.
It's the toughest non-conference schedule in the GMC by far.
Yep.
And there's no debating that. And you can say one of the toughest non-conference schedules in this area when all is said and done. Maybe Archbold is not the team that they've been here in recent years, but Otsego is. I think you're going to see Otsego as the season goes on continue to improve. I know they're not going to get worse with Craig Rutherford and that coaching staff there.
Sure.
They have too good of coaches for them to decline as the season goes on, and then Liberty Center. Hey, what are you going to say? I mean, they're in the state championship discussion this season again, and it's taken state champions to beat them the last 3 years.
Yep.
And they're going to be right there. So Tenora, kudos to them. They're not afraid to go out there and schedule teams, which I don't know that you can say that for everybody.
No, you can't say that for everybody. That's a fact. And I tip my cap to the Rambos.
Yep. I think they're going to get on track this week and get the victory at Hicksville over there in western Defiance County. Let's take another break in here from the Gerken Companies again.
Hard-working individuals have been the heart of the Gerken Companies for generations. Together, we construct the highways and infrastructure that strengthen our communities. Gerken is seeking rock-solid performers. We offer generous benefits, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. Want to be part of something big, steady, and stable with room to grow? Whether you're experienced or just starting your career, we encourage you to apply at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
Thank you to the Gerken Companies, title sponsor of our podcast this season. If you're looking for something out of high school or whenever, go see the Gerken Companies. It's a great company to work for. They'll treat you well.
They will treat you well. They'll train you. Safety is a premium at that company. Benefits package, pay, support, chance for advancement. They have it all, and it's tried and true. Their formula is tried and true. Otherwise, you don't stand the test of time like they have.
A lot of former football players working there, one of them being Robbie Myers.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them. And like I said, I mean, they've got so many entities within the Gerken Companies. I guarantee you there's multiple
Well, you can't
players.
drive around Northwest Ohio without seeing a Gerken Companies truck.
No.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're always busy doing something, so they can find you something to do if you're looking for some work and to get paid well. I guarantee you they will help you out in that aspect of things. Also in the GMC this week, Wayne Trace is at Paulding 3-0. First time since 1988 when they went 10-0. Wayne Trace 0-3 coming into this matchup. The Panthers have outscored Swanton, North Central, and Delphus Jefferson 109-2. So obviously have not allowed any offense to put a point on the board, just a safety so far this season. Now I know that schedule is not Titans of football here in Northwest Ohio, but they've done what they've had to do so far, and now they get Wayne Trace here in week 1 of the GMC.
So, 0-3, 3-0. You think that's a no-brainer. This is a hotly contested rivalry there in Paulding County. Both of these teams just salivate at the thought of this matchup. And I'm going to take Paulding. I am going to take Paulding at home, but don't be a single bit surprised if Wayne Trace goes in there and steals one.
This was a 14-13 victory for Paulding a year ago, as Wayne Trace has been on the side of those 1.1 possession games here the last couple of years that they have lost. They had a couple of them a year ago, lost to Crestview by 1, lost to Nora by 8, lost to Antwerp by 3, and that was a really good Antwerp team. Lost by 3 to Ayersville, and then that 1 point loss to Paulding, and they've already had one this season as well. They just have not been able to get over that hump. I think this is going to be closer than what people are going to say. Like you said, 3-0, 0-3, but I think this is going to be much closer than that.
Yeah, I think Crestview, that's one of the teams that Wayne Trace has played. But I think Wayne Trace has played better football teams. Don't have any wins to show for it. They're going on the road for whatever that means. Some coaches would tell you it means nothing in high school football. I think it means a little bit. But Wayne Trace, after an 0-3 start, talk about healing some wounds and having something to feel good about. This would be one. They can do it. Wayne Trace can win this football game, but Coach Menzie and the Panthers, man, they got that mojo going. I'm going to stay with them.
Yeah, I am too. I'm going to take Paulding in this one, and so is Neil Schuller. All right. Your kryptonite, the Western Buckeye League. Let's go there, Coach. Going to start with Lima Shawnee, 2-1, 1-1 in the league, at Salina, who is 2-1 and 1-1 as well so far this season. Bobby Morris having a nice year for the Salina Bulldogs, 239 yards rushing, 303 passing. Caden Wertz, 6 catches, 177 yards, and half of those catches have went for TDs. Man, these receivers aren't catching a whole lot of passes, but it's like half of them or half of their receptions are going for touchdowns this season. Can we play some defense, please?
Yeah, no kidding. Get the ball carrier down after the catch. That's the objective.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of chunk plays, man.
I'm going to go with Salina in this matchup.
Yep, I too have Salina at home. Shawnee, got to feel good about this start. They've taken their lumps the last few years, but I ain't betting against Salina at home.
Neither is Neil Schuller. He has got the Salina Bulldogs in that matchup. Kenton at Lima Bath. Lima Bath 2-0 in the Western Buckeye League for the first time since 2003. Josiah Clark, 214 yards receiving. Ethan Cole, 7 catches, 217 yards. And their quarterback, Zach Walsh, 50 of 83, 746 yards, 6 touchdowns. Frank Russell and crew have thrown it around a little bit down there in Bath Township as they have the Kenton Wildcats coming to town. I think they go to 3-0 in the Western Buckeye League.
It's been 21 years since they were 2-0.
2-0, yes.
It's not like you're saying 7-0 or 8-0. We're just talking 2-0. Yeah. 21 years. And, boy, that's got to feel good. Those kids got to be just juiced up, and so does that community. Can't believe I'm picking Bath against Kenton, but, 10 years ago you wouldn't have said that. But I like the Bath Wildcats as well. I like what they're building there.
Bath lost week 1, 17-14 to New Bremen, who, guess what? They're 3-0.
Surprise.
They beat Norton and Parkway since then. We're going to find out about the Cardinals this week in their team. They are home with Versailles, and then we'll really find out about New Bremen next week when they play Marion Local on the road in Maria Stein.
Bath is scoring some points, aren't they?
Yeah.
43 and 49, respectively, I think, the last 2 weeks.
Zach Walsh he's chucking it around a little bit, 746 yards.
That's quite a bit in 3 weeks.
6 TDs, playing well.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think New Bremen's going to be better than what
think so,
most
too.
people think. They're
so, too.
Division 7 team, but like I said, we'll really find out here in the next couple weeks what they are. But I like Bath as well in this matchup, and so does Neil Schuller. How about Walpock, 3-0, 2-0, at St. Mary's, 2-1, 1-1 are the Rough Riders. This now is a game that Bo Fry's crew has to have if they want to stay in the WBL chase after the loss at Defiance a week ago. Walpock has won 10 straight WBL games. Walpock has won the last 3 against St. Mary's and 5 of the last 6. I think they add to that streak, but this one won't be easy. St. Mary's is going to be ready for a fight at home in this one.
On paper, this is a no-brainer, especially with St. Mary's going on the road, losing to a team that Walpock handled. You think this is a walk in the park for the Redskins. It's not going to be. And maybe what makes St. Mary's more dangerous this week is their setback last week against Defiance. Walpock's walking into a tough one here. You got to pick Walpock, which I am, but crazy things happen in this league.
It was 14-0 a year ago. Walpock won this game, so it was tight.
Would not be a bit surprised if we get a score update at the end of the third quarter and this one's like 7-7 or 14-14. Would not be a bit surprised. But I like Walpock.
I like Walpock as well, and so does Neil Schuller in this matchup. Elida 1-2, 0-2 in the WBL at Ottawa Glandorf, 1-2 overall and 1-1 in the Western Buckeye League so far. Elida, I know their quarterback has been dinged up a little bit. Don't know the status of him here this week. Schuller's going with OG.
I am doing what you're not supposed to do, Lynn. OG beat Kenton.
Yep.
Kenton beat Elida. Therefore, Ottawa Glandorf beats Elida. I like the Titans at home to get to 500 for the first time in who knows how long.
200 for Ken Schreiner, I believe.
Ooh,
he's sitting at 199.
After last week's win?
Yeah, I believe
he's
so.
At 199.
I think he was 2 away. He was at 198 coming into this season.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent football coach there. Struggled a little bit the last 2 years. I like him at home.
Okay. How about Defiance? 1-2 overall. Now 1-1 in the Western Buckeye League. They got to have it. At Van Wert Eggers Stadium on Friday night. Van Wert 0-2 in the WBL for the first time since 2018. Anthony Wilder has been a big part of that Defiance offense, 372 yards if they've battled some injuries offensively as well. Just Defiance go on the road against an explosive Van Wert team and get the win.
Yeah, yep, they do. Not only do they need to, they are going to. I doubted the Defiance Bulldogs last week. I got reminded by Rocky Rubio, who I think I mentioned is one of our officers in Napoleon. I love the guy, great guy. His son, Abel Rubio, is a stud for Defiance. And he came in my classroom when I was gone, and he wrote on my board, pick of the week, Defiance over St. Mary's. I had no idea who wrote it, and I found out later. And I said, if he's right and I'm wrong, I'll admit it. And he knew something I didn't. He knew the Bulldogs were loaded and ready to roll, and their backs were against the wall, and they got it done. I didn't think they would against that rushing attack, not after seeing them week 1, and they did it, and I'm telling you, they're riding high. You know, Defiance is 0-2, and it's the end of the world, right? And it's just, you know what? They're 1-2, chance to be back at 500. Defiance is, they could be 8-2, 7-3 this year. They could be.
Yeah, I questioned their medal a week ago against St. Mary's, and I was proved wrong as well, but I'm not going to be proved wrong this week. I'm going to take the Defiance Bulldogs to go to Van Wert and get the victory.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Neil Schuller, a smart man, too. He has got the Bulldogs in this matchup. Going to come back after we take a break and talk about the Blanchard Valley Conference. Move over Friday. We're making Thursday the best day of the week. Every Thursday, enjoy buy one, get one free boneless wings with takeout or delivery from B-Dubs. Ready to score double the sauce for half half the price. Buy one, get one of equal value free boneless wings on Thursday. Not valid with any other offers. Size exclusions may apply while supplies last. Limit one per customer. Delivery and takeout available at participating locations for a limited time. Delivery subject to availability. Fees may apply. Valid only for orders through the Buffalo Wild Wings app and website. Thank you to Buffalo Wild Wings, a sponsor this week on our podcast. Blanchard Valley Conference, Pandora Gilboa, 1-2, 1-0 in the BVC at Lipsick, who is 2-1 and 1-0 in the conference so far this season.
Can't compare scores, right, Lynn? Can't compare scores, but I'm going to compare scores. Lipsick beat Van Buren 18-6, 18-6, and Pandora Gilboa put 41 on Van Buren, beating them 41-14. Lipsick's at home. They're tough to beat there. I like Pandora Gilboa. I saw them with my own two eyes. I like that football team. I said it week one. I'm going to stand by that. I like Pandora Gilboa on the road at Lipsick.
They got the Rockets, too. We're going to pick up a game on Schuller here because he's got the Vikes.
Yeah, no. The Rockets win this football game, and I didn't notice that in his picks. I actually missed that one. Yeah, we got a game there.
Liberty Benton coming off that big win over Macomb last week in convincing fashion. The Eagles 2-1, 1-0 in the BVC at Riverdale this week, who is 2-1 and 1-1 so far. Liberty Benton, way too much. I don't know that they lose another game the rest of the regular season.
Nope, they're not going to, and Macomb was that big hurdle. Yeah, they're going to roll. I think they got a shot to be a 9-1 football team. I think they will be. They'll go down to Mount Blanchard and absolutely roll Friday night.
Give me LB as well. Ada is at Elmwood. The Royals, man, they are struggling 0-3, 0-1 in the conference. Ada is 2-1, 0-1 so far. Give me the Ada Bulldogs in this matchup.
Yep, not much discussion here from my end. Elmwood's got some work to do. Maybe this is a week they correct some mistakes, but until then, I like Ada.
Columbus Grove ready to defend that NWC title from a year ago. They are at Spencerville. The Bearcats are also 3-0 to start this season, but I don't think it matters. Bearcats off to their best start since 2020. Grove has won 10 straight regular season games. They add to it. Interesting to see what they do without Landon Best here until hopefully they can get him back. I kind of asked you this on the Gamecast on Friday night, but Trenton Braz is going to have the ball in his hands every snap now.
Yep.
That's a little bit scary if I was a defensive coordinator.
And what has Van Wert made a living doing the last decade? Yeah. Taking the best athlete in the school, or one of the top athletes in the school, best athlete maybe on your football team, and you are the quarterback because you're going to touch the ball every single play. And we'll see if we know they're going to have a plan A, B, and C going forward. Is there somebody else that maybe can take snaps when you want to do some other things with Barazic? He's pretty dangerous out there in space, too, with the ball in his hand. So, but, yeah, the thought of him touching the ball every play.
You put Grant Eversole in the backfield, maybe?
Oh.
He showed a burst.
Oh. And then, who's our guy number 44?
Josh Gannon.
Gannon. You know, now you have a three-headed monster back there. You have three tanks. Well, two tanks and then a sports car. And, you know, it still makes me sad.
Can Brady Basinger get some touches?
He needs to. Yep, he needs to. Imagine some sort of, Braz is in the pistol, and I don't even know what some teams called this. We did it a couple times when I had Blake Dunbar, but he's in the gun, pistol. He's got Eversole behind him, and then Gannon and Basinger flanking him in the backfield. So a little diamond triangle look. That's a four-headed monster coming at you. So even though Grove's in a situation, it's their worst nightmare. What happened? Because it is what it is, you got to move forward. You now have a little fun getting creative, saying, what can we do to diversify here with the loss of our outstanding leader? It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Columbus Grove in this matchup. So is Neil Schuller. Can't believe you're not either.
Nope, I'm going to take Grove. They're both 3-0, but all 3-0s are not created equal. Grove's 3-0 is different than Spencerville's 3-0, and they go down there and get it done.
Grove undefeated until that Week 10 matchup at Bluffton. I think the Pirates undefeated at that point, too, and that'll be another monumental NWC championship. We don't like to get too far ahead of ourselves.
No. Could LCC, I know they... No.
Not this year.
Okay. I was going to say, could LCC catch one of them sleeping?
Maybe that team from the last couple years. I haven't seen enough out of the T-Birds so far this year to creep up on either one of those clubs. As long as they stay focused.
Yep.
Because I think Grove has LCC kind of late there in the season, if I'm not mistaken, Coach.
Yeah, I'd have to double check their schedule. It's been too long.
Let me look. They have LCC the week before at Clymer Stadium.
Okay. They'll be locked and loaded that night at home. Andy Schaefer won't let them look ahead. But when they put that game to bed, it'll be all hands on deck.
Man, whew. I'd love to get a seat in that Bluffton press box for that one if that materializes like we think.
I could maybe call in a favor. You know, I spent 4 years down there in Bluffton.
Can our sponsor help us out? I know Mandy Gerken lives in the Bluffton community.
If anybody could.
Phil Talavania.
My man, Phil.
We got some clout down there with some folks.
We do.
I think we could maybe make it happen. Could they, build something on?
It'd be enough time.
Phil's got some money in his pockets.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be anything permanent. It can be just a little lean-to to get us through the night, because who knows what the elements could be doing that night. Might be able to get something done there.
Get on the horn there.
Yeah, that would be one. No, I'm not willing to do that. No, got to be inside.
Yeah, I agree. TAC this week, still not into the conference play, but here are the teams playing from the TAC this week. Eden at Margaretta. Margaretta 0-3. Eden is 3-0. First meeting ever between these two teams. How about Kendall Briggle? 21 catches, 294 yards, 5 TDs. Max Radeball, 291 yards on 26 catches. Kyler Sapp already put it in the air 112 times. He's completed 74 for 837 yards, 9 TDs. I don't think this is going to be a test at all for the Bombers on the road. They roll, set up that matchup with Whiteford next week. Little contrast in styles we'll see next week. Coach Teeks and Whiteford they like to keep it on the ground a little bit, the little anti-Eden offense.
Yeah, they do, and I look forward to it. I've spent a lot of time with Coach Teakin on the Northwest Ohio Coach Association Advisory Committee, and look forward to that game. I think a big thing for Eden going forward, as it is with a lot of schools that size, they got to stay healthy, and I think they're relatively healthy right now for week 4, but with the meat of their schedule coming up, they can't afford to get anybody nicked up. But I like Eden to roll in this game.
Matchup of 0-3 teams down at Van Loo. Montpelier, the Locos, going down to Van Loo. Locos won the first meeting ever a year ago. How about this? I was looking at Van Loo's history in the playoff era. They've won 55 games since 1972 when the playoffs in Ohio started. They've lost 34 of their last 35. The wins have been hard to come by down there. So give me Montpelier in this one. I think they're going to get it done.
Yeah. Can you tell me the name of Van Loo's football field?
I could not.
I didn't know. You know a lot of stuff, but I got you
I've never been to Van Loo.
Okay. Hinkle Field.
Hinkle Field.
Hinkle Field.
How do you know that?
The great Hinkle Field. I've been around, Lynn. I've been around. And Hinkle Field is where it all happens there at Van Loo. But the Locos, I think, get win number 1, and Andy Robinson and those boys need it, and they deserve it.
Neil Schuller says Coach Robinson and crew get their first win of the season on the road. He also took Eden in that last matchup. I think I failed to mention that. Sorry, Mr. Schuller, not to slight you there on your pick, but I think you're going to get a win with both of those picks. How about Port Clinton at Ottawa Hills? Can Port Clinton go into the Village and get a win?
Yeah, this is one where, I talked about making some picks based on history and things like that. Port Clinton went through a stretch with head coach Bo Carmen where they were straight up nasty. I mean, out of the mold of the great Clyde and Bellevue teams where they were just rugged and physical and just hit the heck out of you. And they're not that anymore, but they're still a solid football program. On paper, one would say Ottawa Hills should not beat Port Clinton, but these Green Bears have regrouped since week one. They got their chains rattled a little bit there. I like Ottawa Hills at home. I think they have too many weapons, but I think it's going to be close, Lynn. I think 24-21, 28-24. I think it's going to be a slugfest, but I like Ottawa Hills and Coach Carter to get it done at home.
This isn't Evergreen and Swanton. This is Gibsonburg. And you know what Gibsonburg did to the Green Bears? 26-7 spanking. Give me Port Clinton again this week.
Okay. I like it.
Ottawa Hills has got to prove something against a good team that's going to smack you in the mouth.
Okay.
And Port Clinton's going to do that, and I don't think Ottawa Hills is ready for it.
Ooh.
I don't think they're ready for it.
Laid it down right there, Coach Carter.
They're going to have to show me something.
Okay.
If I'm going to get back on the bandwagon.
Okay. I like
Schuller's taking Ottawa Hills. I'm going to pick up a game right here on you guys because they're not going to be ready for Port Clinton when they roll into the Village.
I'll tell you what.
They're going to come in there with an attitude.
I'll put that offer on the table to Coach Carter. If you want me to have a word with your boys, I'm willing. I need this game. I need to continue to bury this guy here.
Rocco Pillarelli kind of worries me. Chase Miller, Reddick Pillarelli. Rocco's got 427 yards rushing, 5 TDs. Let's see if he can do it this week. Let's see if you can run for 100 yards against Port Clinton, Rocco.
Well, I told you, Keithy Lazenby, we couldn't get our hands on him years ago at Lima Senior. That's going to be what Port Clinton feels against my boy Rocco. He's going to be locked in this week, baby. He's going to be locked in.
We'll find out. We'll find out about that. Let's stick with the TAC teams. Hilltop 0-3 at North Central. North Central's been outscored 119-0. Hilltop has lost 18 of 19 in 7 straight since a 32-2 win over Cardinal Stritch. Thank you for the assist there.
You're welcome.
Coach Strock.
You're welcome.
Your flexibility. The Cadets are going to get this one.
I'm with you. I am riding with the Hilltop Cadets. They're on the road, but when they get back to West Unity, there's going to be a celebration. Hilltop gets the first win of the season.
I agree with that. Let's move it to the NWOAL. Patrick Henry trying to get back on track after that loss a week ago at Columbus Grove. Haven't lost to Evergreen since 2017. Will Wright's 11 catches, 249 yards, 3 TDs for that Evergreen offense. I just don't think they have quite enough against this Patrick Henry team.
No, Patrick Henry is going to protect the football. There'll be a premium on that week, or on that this week in that program. And Evergreen's playing Patrick Henry at a bad time. I'm just telling you, the Patriots are going to regroup. I think PH is still really good defensively.
Yep.
And they're super, super well coached offensively. Again, it comes down to protecting the football. And they made a couple plays in the passing game Friday night. Touchdown catch by Jackson, and then Johnson. He have the other one?
Yeah, Trent Johnson.
Trent Johnson had the other one. And so they showed some promise through the air. I think I'd like to see them develop some more threats on the ground outside of Lincoln Kreger. I think that's going to be important for them going forward to diversify on the ground a little bit, because you go into that Liberty Center game, for instance, I mean, he's going to be wearing a huge bullseye. So if they can maybe develop a couple wrinkles prior to that, they're going to be better. But they're going to roll Friday night.
Yep. Give me the Patriots as well, and Neil Schuller will take PH in that matchup. Let's take our final break in here from the Gerken companies.
High school seniors, uncertain that college is right for you? Concerned about the cost of higher education? At the Gerken Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods even without a degree. That's a good living straight out of high school with no tuition debt. Starting pay between recent college grads and those with high school diplomas is closer than you might think. So if you enjoy teamwork, working outdoors, and being part of something meaningful, consider your options at gerkencompanies.com/careers.
Thank you again to the Gerken Companies for their support. Tune in again next week to hear our Rock Solid Performance winner this week. If you're just tuning in, Columbus Grove taking home that honor, and we'll hand out our Week 4 Rock Solid Performance next week on our podcast. That will be coming out Monday without any hiccups with our scheduling.
That's right.
We got it on track here for the foreseeable future. Week 10 will be a little bit later in the week, but here for the next several weeks, it will be out on Mondays for all those folks tuning in. I got some texts today. Where's the podcast at? Yeah. They weren't happy with us.
Our folks.
You can blame this guy right here. You can blame this guy right here.
I'll take it. I know that our loyal listeners like continuity, Lynn, and I like continuity, so I don't blame them for being upset. We'll do better, but I do apologize for that little curveball we threw them. But it ain't gonna hurt them to wait.
No.
Gonna hurt them to wait.
Gotta learn some patience sometimes, right?
That's right. That was part of the plan.
Yeah. Wauseon 0-3 for the first time since 2016. They're at Swanton this Friday night.
Yeah, they're going to get
win number one.
They're going to get win number one. Wauseon is. Yep. Wauseon is, and I'm curious to see. Here's what I'm curious to see: is Wauseon going to win this thing 42-0? Okay, or is Swanton gonna show a little bit of mettle here, because there's too much pride in that community not to, for crying out loud, when you have an 0-3 foe coming in? Or is it going to be a 21-14 game, one way or the other? I think Swanton has a chance to take a step forward here, win or lose, based on the grit and toughness they show in this game against a team that's not a typical Wauseon team coming in. Curious to see how Swanton responds, but I like Wauseon.
I like Wauseon as well, and so does Neil Schuller. Delta looking to get to 4-0 and start off on the right foot in the league. They have Bryan coming to town. First 3-0 start since 2014 for the Panthers. Bryan 0-3 for the first time since 2015. Delta has thrown 8 passes through 3 weeks, Coach. They've ran for, get this, 1,148 yards so far. Do the quick math. That's over 300 yards a game by a good margin, rushing. Landon Lindermoot, 79 rushes. I think he's leading all of the area by what I know. 611 yards, 11 touchdowns.
It's like 200 yards a game, right?
Yes, it is.
And do you know what? As a coach, it is a powerful feeling when you are controlling a football game with your rushing attack. And on the flip side, when you're on that other sideline and you are getting bludgeoned 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 yards a crack, and you can't get off the field defensively, it is a helpless feeling, because now the clock's running and your possessions are limited. Mike Vickers loves playing that style, and I personally love it myself. Delta holds serve at home. Curious to see if Bryan, at some point, Bryan's got too many. Bryan's got to be able to sneak up on somebody. Is this the week? You know, they've played Patrick Henry tough the last couple years when maybe people didn't think they would. Is this the week Bryan wakes up? Until then, though, I'm not betting against Delta.
No, I got the Panthers as well. I'm rolling with Mike Vickers and what he's doing. So does Neil Schuller. They have Bryan this week to the Panthers at Archbold. Maybe find out a little bit more about Delta that week. Well, this maybe isn't the Archbold team that we've seen here the last few years. Home with Swanton, at Wauseon, and then they have 2 big ones, weeks 8 and 9. Home with Patrick Henry, home with Liberty Center in back-to-back weeks, and then they round out the season at Evergreen. But This could be in second place Delta team in the NWL. I don't know that they are going to dare say challenge Liberty Center. I don't know that they are there yet, but down the road, watch out. But can you make the argument for Delta being number 2 in the NWL right now? And would have you said that 6 weeks ago?
No, I would not have said that 6 weeks ago. I think we can all agree. We just assumed they were going to be better with Mike Vickers.
But this good? Now, I know they haven't played Murderers Row here the first 3 weeks.
I think that it's too early to say second place. I think Patrick Henry is still that team. I think the Patriots have too many pieces. I think that Delta Patrick Henry game is going to tell us a lot. But yeah, I like the Patriots a little bit there. I think if you're unable to throw, I'm not saying Delta's unable to throw. I just don't think they've won to throw.
They don't need to.
They don't need to.
Not when you're running for 337 yards a game.
No, but I think against Patrick Henry, for example, they will need to. I think Patrick Henry will be schemed up in a way. You know, the Trent Johnsons and Grant Smith and Jaden Punches and Lincoln Kreger and Akivian Kreider, they're too good defensively. You're going to have to throw a little bit to beat them. Even Columbus Grove needed a couple plays in the air to move the chain. So we'll see. But I'll tell you what, if you bet against Mike Vickers, man, you're a riverboat gambler because that dude wins.
He's a program turnarounder.
Yes, he is.
However you want to put that.
I like it. I like it. That works for me.
Man, he's done a phenomenal job. We knew he was going to. But the numbers they're putting up, it's not like they have 600 yards rushing.
Well, and it's not like he had a full year to do that, or it's not like he's built that over 2-3 years.
In April, right?
Right. I mean, gee, many Christmas.
And I know they have. I think their freshman class won the NWL junior high title a year ago.
Yeah, I know that group's good.
Yeah.
So
are they? We know they're on the rise.
Yeah.
I would challenge somebody. Who's going to put their foot in the ground and challenge Liberty Center?
Right. I know.
Who's going to do it?
I know.
Because right now nobody is.
No, I
Liberty
agree.
just keeps
improving.
improving. Where's the rest of the league? Come on, folks.
I agree.
Somebody has got to rise up and do something in one of these communities in the NWL, because right now Liberty Center is leaving everybody in their dust.
Yes, they are. And that's a fact.
It is.
That's a fact. I mean, you can argue it if you want, but it's
and I think that hurts Liberty Center because they just don't.
Yeah.
They don't play that level of competition that they're going to see in a state semifinal and a state championship.
Right. Yeah.
And it used to not be that way. No. There were, 3 or 4 teams in the NWL that you would see that was just as good as anybody you're going to see in the playoffs.
Darn
and it's
right.
not that way anymore.
Swanton used to be one of them,
Yeah. I mean, you can pick anybody off this list.
Yeah, you can.
Evergreen was the one that ended Liberty's winning streak in the league with McIntosh at running back. Was that about 99, 2000, somewhere in there?
That was, I remember.
But man, I'd like to see somebody step it up. Let's go here, folks. Who wants to challenge the Tigers? Who wants to challenge the Giant?
I think Delta's the Panthers are built as far as their school and community, blue collar, tough, physical. They could be there. They've done it before.
We're going to get a little insight on why the Liberty Center program is as good as it is at the youth level. Todd Spangler and Scott Barrett are going to be here Wednesday night. We'll get that uploaded probably sometimes Thursday, but please watch that video because they're going to give some insight on what has made the youth program here so special. And if you don't have your youth involved in your football program, you're not going anywhere.
Yep, you need some alignment. The great programs are aligned. The vision starts at the top and comes on down. And in a place like Liberty and the great programs, there's a shared vision. There's a you can't have people going rogue. I see it with like Little League baseball programs in different places. You have people going rogue. Well, this is the way we've always done it. This is the way they're doing it here. You've got to have everybody in line.
Can't have any of that daddy ball.
Can't. Daddy ball's becoming an epidemic in this country. It has been, and it's only getting worse, to be honest with you. Daddy ball, love the term. Love the term.
Scotty Barrett will have some thoughts on that. I know I've talked to Scott about that a few times. He'll have some thoughts on our KK Collision football show, and can't wait to get Todd and Scott's insight on what they've built at the lower levels, because that has become a big part of why this program is the way it is.
Two good guys to talk about it with, too.
Yes.
Two good guys.
You think Todd will get any words in?
Scotty,
Well, Scotty gave him a chance to talk.
I think he will.
Okay.
I think he will. 20 years ago, he might not have. But Scotty, man, he is just chilled. He is just chilled now. I'm looking forward to touching base with him.
Speaking of Liberty Center, 3-0 NWAL opener here at Rex Lindgren Stadium, Kip Curran Field on Friday night. Archbold coming to town. The Blue Streaks 2-1 on the season. This is a matchup of the last 5 league champions. Archbold's won the last 2. Archbold won the 2 before that, and they tied for the 2019 crown. LC leads this series in the playoff area 28-27. It used to not be that way during your days, right? How many in a row did Archbold put it on you guys?
17.
17.
Going into the 91 season, would have been my junior year, Normie Zeider's senior year. Archbold had won 17 straight.
17?
17 straight. Isn't it crazy, the numbers that you remember? Like 17, that number has never left my mind. I've never had to think twice. It was 17 straight, and they came into Tiger Stadium at that time, and we beat them. We beat them. And
what happened before that? Or were you letting the Streaks put it on you guys?
I was just a pup. I was just a pup cutting my teeth, and if Rex would have played me at a younger age, we probably end that streak a few years sooner than that. But it's 17 straight years, and it wasn't easy that night. In 91, it wasn't easy that night. It was a foggy, misty, damp night, and I think it was like 17-6. I would love to find that score. I think it was something like 17-6 that night, and Normie Zeider and I'll never forget, Lynn, after school that day, he picked me up and we went for a drive. And there were some songs that Normie and I always listened to. And
I can only imagine.
Yeah, and so we had the music on, and we were just talking about how things had to change, after 17 years, and we were the only ones that could do something about it at that time.
17-8. 17-8.
Did you find it? Really?
Yeah, I did. Yep. There's a website out there you can get a lot of info from. I don't want to divulge my sources.
Yeah, so I had 17-6. I knew we had 17, which tells me Keith Kern kicked a field goal probably in that game. He was our kicker at that time. He was only a sophomore. But I think I kicked off.
The Rex didn't go for it on 4th down?
I kicked off, but he must not have. He might have got penalized and got moved back or something. But I remember that. And then we went over there my senior year and won Liberty Center's first outright NWAL title since like the 30s.
That was the final week of the season. You went over to Spangler Field.
Spangler Field, week 10.
26-7.
26-7 we rolled them.
Yep.
And get dressed in the old pool house there at Spangler Field. And I remember the great Liberty Center team of 1988, Jeff Jurasic, Scott Barrett, and those guys. Timmy Keller went to Spangler Field in an absolute mud bowl. I mean, the mud was a foot deep, literally, and I remember that really well. And so it was special in 92 to go win that outright title. Like I said, it had been forever, the title drought, and we were able to get that done. So needless to say, a lot of pride in my roots here, Lynn, and I've seen some great, the 1987 Napoleon or Liberty Center Archbold game over here at Rex Lindgren Stadium. In the corner of the end zone, Doug Lou Doug Lou, and talk about controversies at the end of the game. Did Doug Lou catch the ball, or did he trap the ball? That was long before all the video we have. It was the 87 season. Doug Lou made that
22-19 Archibald win that year.
Yep.
That was the year they lost to O.J. McDuffie and
Gates Mills.
Yeah.
Yep. And I listened to that game in Ray Carpenter's living room.
Really?
On the radio.
Okay.
I was a 7th grader at the time.
There's a picture of the great Moses Rodriguez, and Mo was about $135 soaking wet.
Yep.
And he was a heck of a player.
Yes, he was.
Don't let that size
Nell and
tell you anything.
Yeah.
OJ, he's trying to tackle O.J. McDuffie, and O.J.'s like 6 feet jumping over him.
Yep.
And Moses was a heck of an athlete.
Yep. Boy, those Archibald teams. You think about some of the great. And the 87 Liberty team couldn't get it done. Scotty Barrett and those guys as seniors at Archibald couldn't get it done. That's how much of a stranglehold
I know.
Archibald.
I'm not trying to make light of losing 17 in a row, because, man, those Archibald teams back then were as good as, you could probably argue that 88 Archibald team was as good of any team that this area has ever seen.
Oh, sure it was.
That line, Big Joe Wise.
Yeah, and they had Archibald.
Lane Thrasher at quarterback.
Yeah, they had a mystique about them, too. And, John Downey leading them and talk about smash mouth physical. And he had Joe Furco, and he just had talk about continuity in a staff. So Archibald had a stranglehold on it. And so I've got a zillion fond memories of Archibald Liberty Center.
Speaking of Lane Thrasher, if you were listening to Rise and Rewind 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, said one of his former teammates at Ohio Wesleyan was here. We're driving down 24.
From St. Ignatius.
Saw the tailgate, stopped in here when they were playing, was that the Napoleon game?
Yep.
It was the Napoleon game. Stopped in here. So I texted Lane. He's down in Key West, Florida. Texted him. Got a text last Saturday, so I couldn't do it on Rise and Rewind, and we'll repeat this on Rise and Rewind for the people that maybe don't listen to the podcast but only listen to Rise and Rewind. But the guy's name was Ryan Spicer from St. Ignatius. And he also lives in Key West. He has a house down there. He said Ryan was an all-conference DB at Ohio Wesleyan, and Lane Thrasher says he was tough.
He was tough. Has a place in Key West.
Key West with Lane Thrasher, both those guys down in Key West.
Here's a couple guys that have landed on their feet, right? So to speak.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Lane Thrasher was tough. Those Archibald teams, I talk about Denny Martin, how fond I was of Denny Martin. Like those Archibald teams as a youngster, you just looked up at those guys and they were bigger than life, Big Joe Wise and Timmy Holgrave and Pat Sauter, and they were just and little Joe Wise, and they were just loaded. Kurt Wyrick was a stellar tight end, yes, and some of the names you remember, and so Liberty got over the hump. They've gone back and forth here in recent years. Liberty's had the upper hand, but
Liberty's won 28 regular season games going into this matchup. Waylon Rentz leads that rushing attack, 387 yards, 4 TDs. Thomas Muller has 212, 2 TDs. Garrison Cruz, 152 and 5 TDs. Overall, Liberty has 922 yards rushing on 117 carries against pretty good competition here the first 3 weeks.
Yep, I would agree with that. They've played 3 good football teams.
LC's won the last 3, including that 2021 playoff matchup.
Yeah, we could.
Can the streaks come in here and make it competitive? I don't think they can.
The only way they can is if they get some takeaways. Liberty's going to have to turn the ball over, going to have some miscues that are uncharacteristic. I like Liberty Center to roll in this game. I can assure you that Archibald has Liberty Center's full attention, and the coaches will have them dialed in. They'll have a great game plan, and I think the Liberty Center kids that understand history, and there's a lot of them on that team that have roots deep in the program, they understand how important this game is for Liberty Center and the Liberty Center football program, because for a lot of years, Archibald shoved Liberty Center around.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, buddy.
Nope. I'm going to take the Tigers as well, and so is Neil Schuller again. Toledo Chuck Wagon will be here at American Freedom Energy starting at 4 on Friday night, and they will be here afterwards, Glenn, as well. So if you want to get a bite before and afterwards, you can. I know Spike Whitman will.
We'll be coming in on 24, right, from
Yeah.
Kazmaier Stadium in Maumee.
We don't have to get up too early Saturday morning.
9 o'clock, that's almost sleeping in. But here's the thing. 20 years ago, I'd have done it without giving it a second thought. Now, with the wisdom I've gained over the years, I don't know if it's a good idea, because I know how those things end. And so maybe it's just best you go compile things for Rise and Rewind, I go home and watch the highlights, and maybe that's that.
I want to give me one of those burgers. May make you drop me off here on the way back.
Problem is, if I pull in here, I'm not
You're
just
getting a
going to
burger,
drop
too.
you off. I'm getting a burger and probably a Mountain Dew out of the cooler there, and so game time decision. I'm not going to commit. Game time decision.
Okay, all right.
All right.
We'll figure it out on Friday night when we roll back from
I like it.
Maumee. We're not too far down the road.
No, not
Only
at all.
about 20 minutes.
Yep, very doable.
Yeah, I'm not getting up too early Saturday morning. So you may see our faces here Friday night, folks. May partake in the
Like it or
festivity.
not.
Yeah.
Like it or not.
Thank you to the Gerken companies and all of our sponsors for sponsoring our podcast. We'll be back next week to talk about week number 5.
Halfway
Already. It's going quick.
Tap the brakes,
Going
man.
quick. Don't forget to tune in to our YouTube channel. Probably be up Thursday morning. LC Youth Football and the dynamic that has went into that with Scott Barrett and Todd Spangler. Can't wait to have those guys on this week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great week. We will talk to you again next week.